Good afternoon and welcome back to the Broadbeach Bowls Club on Gold Coast, Australia, as we get ready for the second set of finals here at the Asia Pacific Championships. I'm Brenton Vinasroy alongside Kevin Hickland. We're already an end down in the women's singles final between New Zealand's Jo Edwards, the two-time defending champion from the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games and Glasgow Commonwealth Games, up against the veteran Carmen Henderson of Norfolk Island. A very good afternoon and welcome back to Kevin Hickland as well. Already won gold for New Zealand. A good chance of one, maybe two more this afternoon.
Well, certainly so, and Jo Edwards has opened very, very well in her game against Carmen Henderson with a 3 on the first end. As I look over now, she's holding 2 and a measure with Carmen Henderson playing her last bowl, and that's going to go wide of the head. And a great start here from the New Zealand singles player.
Yeah, indeed, and we've got the New Zealand men's pair in action as well in their final against Australia. Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy up against Ray Pearce and Nathan Rice, and New Zealand drawing first blood in that as well. So 1-0 after the first end of that. Currently playing the second end here of the women's singles, and we're about to see a couple more, I believe, to Jo Edwards. At least one, 3 on the first end.
And 3 on the second end.
And 3 on the second. Wow, what a start by Jo Edwards. 6-0. She leads Norfolk Island's Carmen Henderson. Of course, Carmen Henderson had to come through the long way, beating, firstly, Australian in the quarterfinals, then Malaysia in the semi-finals to make it through to this, as did Jo Edwards, in fact, after she finished second in section play. And then coming through against Canada and then India in the semi-finals to now be here. And remarkably, given everything that Jo Edwards has achieved in her career, she is vying for her first gold medal at the Asia Pacific Championships in the women's singles discipline. She is a 7-time medalist at the Asia Pacific Championships. She's won 4 gold, a silver and 2 bronze, but yet to win gold in the singles. She's been a bronze medalist twice, and we believe this is her 600th game.
Amazing achievement, isn't it, Brennan? 600 games, you know, joins the likes of the great Karen Murphy from Australia, who's up in that league as well. And, you know, just, if we go back, we spoke this morning way back to, was it 2003, 2002, when Jo Edwards was representing New Zealand, and amazing career, and still at the top of her game, of course. But let's just not disregard that of Carmen Henderson, because in both of her quarter-final and semi-final matches, she's had to come from behind. And against Kelsey Cottrell, of course, came from quite a way behind. But I'm going to stick by what I said yesterday morning after Jo Edwards defeated Kelly McKerran, the Canadian representative, that I thought that Jo Edwards was right on top of her game. And to me, she just looked the form player in the singles field. Consistent drawing, and if we look now, she's drawn her first bolt here right on top of the jack, gone behind, and immediately, as you and I have seen in so many games, Brenton, when you're putting that first bolt pressure on, it does make a big difference.
Absolutely. Those viewers who are joining us here on stuff.co.nz who may be new to bowls, you may have seen the women's fours earlier this morning. Of course, that was the 15-end game, but singles is different. It's actually the first to score 21. And so far, already after just 2 ends, Jo Edwards jumped out to a 6-0 advantage, almost a third of the way there. So a great start for New Zealand's Jo Edwards against the veteran Carmen Henderson of Norfolk Island.
So we've got perfect conditions here this afternoon. We had a bit of a nip in the air this morning, but now we've got the sun out and the breeze. It's only just a very small zephyr of a breeze, really. So perfect conditions out on this green at Broad Beach. And a bit of cheer for New Zealand Pairs team, I think, in the men. Just saw Nathan Rice miss a drive, but we concentrate on Jo Edwards, of course.
Yeah, 3 for New Zealand on the second end of the men's pairs final. So Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy out to an early advantage there as well. 4-0 they lead Australia after 2 ends of the men's pairs final. And Jo Edwards in a similar kind of position here as she tries to stamp her authority on this women's singles final. And we'll see a bit of moving around from Carmen Henderson. I think you called her the ballerina yesterday. She certainly likes to play up to the crowd. She likes to follow her bowls down the green and chase them around. And we'll certainly see that.
Colourful player, and over many, many years, been on the international scene for 3 countries, and a tremendous player, Carmen Henderson. But this afternoon, Carmen Henderson is certainly up against the best. And of course, these two played earlier on. As you watch this bowl of Jo Edwards, just look at this as it breaks towards the head. Going to sit on the second shot of the Carmen Henderson bowl, making 2 of it. Superb bowl by the Commonwealth Games gold medalist. And of course, last year as well, won the World Champion of Champions singles. Jo Edwards, she's done everything. And we'll see now Carmen Henderson, she'll play down on her backhand, trying to reach to the counting bowls, and it's got to get under the Jo Edwards bowl to get that contact. She made the contact, but on the outside, not the inside of the bowls where she needed to go to. And again,
so should be another 2 here for Jo Edwards. So what a start for the reigning Commonwealth Games champion. Of course, won on this very green 14 months ago, that gold. Certainly one. Carmen Henderson kicks away, just having a look to see if it's 2. The scorer, the measurer, certainly thinks so. Does Carmen Henderson agree? She does, so it's 2 more to Jo Edwards. So racing out of the blocks is the New Zealander, 8-0 after just 3 ends in the race to 21 of the women's singles final here at Broad Beach.
Certainly a great start by the New Zealand representative, and as I interviewed Val Smith, of course, after the women's fours won their gold medal, and no one can remember an event where in one day we had 4 events in New Zealand in the 4 finals, and I think it's just a great day for our sport and for our New Zealand side and for all involved with the New Zealand team to our first international event of the year, the new campaign, and what a great start for the New Zealand side.
So Jo Edwards going with a short end here, as you can see, almost the top of that line is the absolute minimum, and she's probably only a metre down, so a very short end for New Zealand's Jo Edwards, which obviously worked for her so far. She's picked up 8 shots in the first 3 ends, so she'll continue to do what's working for it.
So there comes the Jo Edwards opening bowl, finishing right on the centre line. And as we go back to that game yesterday that we commentated, Brenton, just about, I would say, it's about having effective bowls, and about 90% of Jo Edwards' bowls are always in around that centre line area, giving you effective bowls on a very, very regular basis.
And it puts so much pressure on your opponent, doesn't it, when you're able to do that?
And Jo Edwards does that so well. As you watch this bowl now, Carmen Henderson, her first bowl, and that's going to cut across the line under the head. So again, we've got Jo Edwards. She's holding the shot. as Brenton said, leading 8-0. Of course, Ian's don't come into it in the singles because it's a race to 21. First to get 21 shots. And again, we see Jo Edwards. It was her second bowl. She knew straight away that was under the line.
Yeah, narrow, as you could tell, as she turns her back on that one momentarily. It's going to go inside that bowl of Carmen Henderson and knock it a couple of maybe inches closer to the jack as well. So Carmen Henderson now with her second. Represented Australia, Philippines and Norfolk Island, the 1994 Commonwealth Games gold medalist in the women's singles. I believe that was Norfolk Island's first ever gold medal in a Commonwealth Games.
As we watch this bowl, this is a better bowl here from Carmen Henderson. This is going to sit right on the jack, and it does.
Great response. She needs that.
Caresses the jack, sits right on top.
And we talk about the race to 21, and so far there's only one person in the race, and that's Jo Edwards. But Carmen Henderson announcing herself, not giving up yet. And as Kevin mentioned earlier, she's come back 2 deficits in her quarter-final and her semi-final against Australia and Malaysia respectively to win and to get here. And she's a fighter.
Jo Edwards' bowl. Look at this bowl of Jo Edwards. Drew inside the toucher of Carmen Henderson and drew a toucher herself just mere centimetres away. And that superb
It's
bowl.
a great shot to show you how close that is as well. Shot bowl. And we see that again. The shot bowl of Jo Edwards. Getting inside that bowl of Carmen Henderson to draw a shot. What a response. Anderson has her best bowl of the match so far, and straight away Jo beats it.
Yeah, certainly. It's bowl by bowl, you're under pressure. And of course, earlier on this morning, we saw our New Zealand men's triple side of Ali Forsyth, Jamie Hill and Mike Kernahan go down to the Australian side, the Aaron Sheriff-Skip side, with Aaron Tees and Barry Lester. And a silver medal. Watch this bowl of Carmen Henderson. She's chasing this one. And here's a good bowl. Here's a good response from Henderson.
And
3
great under the jack.
Just moves the jack around fractionally.
Well, this is more of what we saw yesterday, wasn't it, in the game that Jo Edwards had in her quarter-final against Kelly McCarrahan when they were just going bowl for bowl, peppering the jack. And now Carmen Henderson with 2 fine bowls. What can Jo Edwards come up with here?
Jo come down trying to rest inside or sit on the shot bowl or rest inside to the jack. It's on that line now. Is it going to come all the way? It's breaking now. It's close to the line to get in that shot bowl.
Wow.
It does. What a bowl.
What an exhibition we've just seen from these two. Incredible. Now your turn. Jo Edwards says to Carmen Henderson, we see a replay of this one. She was urging it to come in, and it does just what she wanted, knocking away what was the shot bowl of Carmen Henderson to draw the shot. And 2 fine, make it 4 fine bowls from these 2 competitors. Long-time rivals, of course, in the women's singles. And Jo Edwards, every question asked by Carmen Henderson has been answered in kind by a brilliant bowl from Jo Edwards.
So Carmen Henderson will endeavour to play the same shot that Jo Edwards has played, and I just breaking down now. This is close to the inside of that bowl. Gets that, it'll get the jack, and it does. And
she's drawn the shot, I believe, Carmen Henderson. Another great bowl. That is great to see. We see a replay of this one. Look at Carmen Henderson leaning over, trying to bring it round that front bowl, and it does come round that front bowl, touches the other bowl from earlier, and rests just on the jack. And that is a beautiful bowl from Carmen Henderson. I'm going to get the measure out, but I believe it should be one to the Norfolk Island representative, as we're able to give you an update from the men's pairs final between Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy of New Zealand up against Ray Pearce and Nathan Rice of Australia. And it is Pearce and Rice who have just picked up a couple. So it's now 4-2 New Zealand leading after 3 of the 18 ends in the men's pairs final. And we're getting a very close measure here. There's not much between these two, so maybe closer than I thought it was.
And you notice that the Jo Edwards bowl, you'll see the marker has chocked it, put the rubber chocks underneath it, so is that while measuring, the bowl is not going to fall over, and got the calipers out, and so it's obviously a very close, going back to the Carmen Henderson bowl, the multicoloured bowl, and it's a New Zealand bowl that was shot.
Wow, all that work from Carmen Henderson. 3 brilliant bowls, and she comes up with nothing. Another shot to Joe Edwards. So continuing to race away is the New Zealander, 9-0. She now leads in the race to 21. The women's singles final here at the Broadbeach Bowls Club on the Gold Coast of Australia. Proud to bring you this coverage on stuff.co.nz. Myself, Brenton Vanessa-Roy, alongside Kevin Hicklin. Already 1 gold for New Zealand today. That was in the women's 4. Val Smith, Caitlin Inch, Kirsten Edwards and Wendy Jensen taking that one out. A silver to the New Zealand men's triple of Ali Forsyth, Jamie Hill and Mike Kernahan. And we've got 2 New Zealand combinations leading so far in their finals. Joe Edwards here in the women's single and alongside the rink. Just a couple away, you can actually see Gary Lawson there right of screen, the skip of the men's pair himself, and Shannon McElroy leading Australia 4-2 after 3 of 18 ends.
So Joe Edwards leading 9-0 in the race 2:21, delivers her first bowl on this shorter length, and again it's got that nice arc coming back in towards the jack and sits just slightly over jack level, sits jack high. Good opening bowl, and we saw in that last end the quality of these 2 players, because the jack got moved centimetres on about 3 occasions. Just got a touch on the jack, did both players. As we watch Carmen Henderson's bowl break towards the head. A good bowl here from Carmen Henderson. That'll be the shot.
Great track that she followed there. Carmen Henderson looked good from halfway down, and it continued to make its way to the jack. It's just in front, not a touch-up, but it'll be a bit harder for Joe Edwards to see and access now. She's going to continue to come on that forehand side and try and follow a similar track, maybe a touch more weight.
And just trying to get inside the line to the bowl as it breaks towards the head now. Just not quite going to have the weight. Certainly had a good line to get down to the Carmen Henderson bowl. And Carmen Henderson staying on it, the forehand side and playing down towards the Surfers Paradise men. We're getting some sun on our backs now, which we certainly didn't have this morning, Brenton. It was
a bit fresh, wasn't it?
Fresh for the Gold Coast, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd say that's a good way to put it. Fresh for the Gold Coast, because it certainly wasn't cold, but some of the Kiwis who have set up residence over here have become a bit soft, we've found, and certainly a member of our team over here, Robbie, he was saying how cold it was, despite, still probably being 14, 15 degrees, just a tiny bit of wind. Now I'd say it'd be approaching 20 degrees. Absolutely lovely winter's day.
As I watch this bowl of Joe Edwards just hunt down towards the jack. Look at this, as it's a back toucher. It doesn't want to fall over though, it could push the jack back onto the Carmen Henderson bowl. But
another great bowl by Joe Edwards.
Just magnificent bowl. So you'll see.
Can she keep this up? This is an outstanding start to this match. This is a final, and she's just putting all the pressure on Carmen Henderson.
So Carmen Henderson will endeavour as well to reach down on that backhand, and Edwards played that superb bowl, and Carmen Henderson's going to finish jack level and wide of the actual target, and the marker indicating that it's centimetres away. It looks from here to be sitting. Oh,
there
yes,
we go.
Look,
what a
you
shot.
can see.
Just a couple of centimetres away.
So I'm picking that Joe Edwards will come in to have a look, but of course she can continue on that line. Initially I thought it was locked right on top of the bowl. What a magnificent bowl it was from Joe Edwards to draw down, change your hand, played 2 bowls down on the forehand, changes to the backhand, and draws that magnificent bowl. Having a look at where the third shot is, that's what Joe Edwards is looking for.
So she's trying to get rid of the Carmen Henderson bowl? Is that what we're thinking here?
Well, I think what she's just making sure of that if Carmen Henderson dislodges her bowl, that she's not going to be 3 down.
Right.
And it's fine for Joe Edwards on that back end, because if she was to get a touch on the jack, because there is a gap between the bowl and the jack, if Joe was to get there, it can move over towards her other bowl. And it's Joe Edwards, yes, that's what she's doing, playing down on that backhand. If she gets a touch on the jack, it's fine, and she certainly delivered it out on the wider side, the sensible side, doesn't want to be narrow. He's now breaking down towards the head. And look, is this going to get all the way? Certainly endeavoured to. So Carmen Henderson now, she'll definitely try and reach down on that backhand and use that bowl to get to the jack.
Great angle just before of where exactly everything was and location. Now, Carmen Henderson playing with some weight.
Searching down on that backhand side because there's bowls to work off to get to the jack, and that's what she's going to do. She's going to get the...
Couldn't have worked out worse for Carmen Henderson. Very unfortunate. Picked through the gap between those two. Joe Edwards' bowls was one of them and didn't take the jack, so it's at least 2 for Joe Edwards. Is it potentially 3?
Well, she didn't expect that result. You'd have thought it would have just naturally would have ran its way to the jack, and Joe Edwards had a wry smile on her face because Carmen Henderson actually played a very, very good bowl then and was just slightly unlucky. And I can see that New Zealand have scored in the men's.
Yeah, just scored a 4 in the men's pairs, so now they lead 8-2 over the combination from Australia, and Ray Pearce, Nathan Rice, Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy. New Zealand combination trying to win New Zealand's second gold. Well, they're racing Joe Edwards to get there at the moment because Edwards is making fast work of this. 11-0. She leads Carmen Henderson in the race to 21. She's already over halfway there.
Well, of course, the thing about the old 21 shot game is you don't run out of ends, just run out of numbers. It's the big thing.
So, the last one is always the toughest to get, they say, though.
Seen it so often. I remember a long time ago I saw a Trans-Tasman game at the Pakuranga Bowling Club in Auckland, and Marlene Castle was playing Karen Murphy in the race to 21 in the Trans-Tasman. So I see Joe Edwards draw yet another front toucher, and Karen Murphy was leading the game by 19-2, and Marlene Castle ran out the winner by 21-19.
Brilliant.
So it does happen. It does happen.
Well, we only have to look back to the men's singles at the start of the year, the Somerset National Singles and Pairs as well, where Shannon McElroy is playing here, had a huge lead in his semi-final. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like...
It was large.
Yeah, 19-1 or 19-2 or something.
It was significant against Fabling of the Waikato.
Yeah, Tony Fabling.
And as I watched the Carmen Henderson response, and that's a good bowl still from Carmen Henderson, just in behind the jack, but... Joe Edwards, the New Zealand Queen of the Green, she's putting the pressure right on from bowl 1. And if you watch that delivery of Joe Edwards, just to you people sitting at home watching, you watch this delivery of Joe Edwards, it's just like a perfect golf swing. Everything, you'll never see the ball wobble. You'll never see anything change in her delivery. Holds it in close to her body so it doesn't wobble out. And here we go again. Sits right alongside the jack again. This is just magnificent draw play by
She's putting on a clinic at the moment, an absolute clinic. And it's a pleasure to watch a player at the top of their game. 2-time defending champion, Commonwealth Games from both Glasgow and the Gold Coast in the women's singles, and it looks like she's going to be adding yet another gold medal. And what a statement this would be. Less than a year out from the World Championship. She hasn't won a world title in the women's singles yet either. I know that will be a big target of hers, and it'll be back on these greens again, and she's making herself very much at home at the Broad Beach as Carmen Henderson responds.
Is that the split, this weighted shot that sat on the bowl, and of course Joe Edwards as well in this current sort of season, won the World Champion singles, Commonwealth Games, and the World Cup, of course, which is played in Marilla every year. She's been the winner of that on 6 occasions. So, and when, as I said yesterday, Joe really started playing the singles after the 2012 World Bowls. So really, as you can say, from 2013 onwards has been her singles forte, and she's now, without any shadow of doubt, although we've got Karen Murphy, who's not had this event, of course, has won the World Singles the last 2 consecutive world champs. So, whether she'll be in the Australian side as a singles player. Who knows? But I think we know who the New Zealand singles player will be.
Well, it's never in doubt, isn't it? Two-time defending Commonwealth Games champion, and Jo Edwards, and you're seeing her class right now against a very good singles player in Carmen Henderson.
Now we may well see Jo Edwards may well change her hand and try and get down to the Carmen Henderson shot bowl, because there's a chance of a touch onto the jack, and Jo Edwards asking the marker and whether she'll get down to the jack. One down.
Yeah, rare moment where Jo Edwards is playing from behind in this end. Carmen Anderson with a good bowl after great start to the end for Edwards, and asking a bit too much of this one. Got a kiss off that bowl, but still not threatening the shot of Carmen Henderson. So an opening here for the Norfolk Island representative, a chance to pick up 2 shots on this end and to get on the board and eat into that deficit, and that's what Carmen Henderson has to do. Still a race to 21 it is, and so certainly not out of this yet.
So an error line here from Anderson, and doesn't want to touch the jack on that angle because it could have gone back to where the Jo Edwards bowl was. But we will see now Norfolk Island players will score, no doubt. That's definitely one, and we'll just let Jo Edwards and Carmen Anderson have a look to see what's what, and they've agreed just the one.
Just the one. Wow. So that touch may have just pushed the jack slightly closer to the New Zealand bowl, and that was a costly touch, wasn't it? Because it was looking good, but just the one for Carmen Anderson. But she is now on the board. So it's Jo Edwards of New Zealand leading Carmen Anderson of the Norfolk Islands 11-1. And the rink not far away, we have Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy who are leading.
Just see Gary Lawson with a touch-up and a move of the jack, and I reckon he is holding the shot, definitely.
Yeah, certainly is holding the shot. I see Shannon McElroy has just put the spray on as well. So they're just playing a couple of rinks over to the right there. They're just out of shot where they're playing right now, but we'll see them from time to time as we go up and down here. They're playing at the moment towards our commentary position, the Surfers Paradise end of the Broadbeach Bowls Club, while currently the New Zealand player and Jo Edwards and Norfolk Island's Carmen Anderson are playing from the Broadbeach end. We've decided to call it the far end from our commentary position.
So the first bowl from Carmen Henderson on the forehand side is short by a good metre and a bit. Jo Edwards will play also down on that forehand side. And
she's played a longer end as well, Carmen Henderson, with the first time with the jack and the mat. She's played a bit longer.
So drifting in towards the head now is the Jo Edwards bowl, and good weight.
I can confirm another shot to the New Zealand men's pair, so they now lead Australia 9-2 after 5 of 18 ends, and that final. So far so good for New Zealand this afternoon.
So Carmen Henderson, she certainly didn't like that one. When let it go, it was always going to be. It was under the line when it left her hand. You might hear a bit of wind in the sound effects because it's just a bit of a breeze going through. Carmen Henderson was very, very narrow with that bowl. So we'll see now Jo Edwards with her second bowl leading 11-1.
Yeah, and those Kiwis have become acclimatised to the weather over here, already putting the jackets on, starting to hunker down as a bit of wind comes through.
Good bowl breaking into the head here from Jo Edwards, under the bowl, around the bowl to the jack. And this is going to be very close to sit alongside the jack, and it does so.
Holding 2 is the Kiwi, Jo Edwards, New Zealand, looking to consolidate this lead here at the Broadbeach Bowls Club on the Gold Coast of Australia. It's an absolute pleasure to bring you this coverage on stuff.co.nz as Carmen Anderson just slides by. You can see what she was trying to do, target the jack and trail the jack behind those bowls and away from the bowls of Jo Edwards, but just missing.
Well, it's very Carmen Anderson's got to be pretty careful now because the head's open if Carmen Henderson doesn't get close to the third bowl, she's in grave danger of dropping a big number. And Joe Edwards, she's going to go behind the head.
A bit of cover.
For cover on the trail, holding 2 shots for sure. And Carmen Henderson now playing her third bowl.
Her last bowl, in fact. Of course, she started this end.
So, rest there, come down on that backhand side. So, she can't really afford to be racing at it because I pick it to be 3 down if it gives Joe Edwards the chance. And I question this as well. How's the weight going to be? As it breaks towards the head, is it going to sit? Is it going to sit on the bowl? Yes, it does. What a magnificent bowl then. 2 down, and certainly
1 up now.
One up.
1 down for Joe Edwards.
So Joe Edwards will certainly play down to get to the bowl. She's got everything in her favour to play with weight to reach the bowl. Man, she's playing with a lot of weight. She thought to get to that bowl. As it breaks its way down to get to the bowl. Now gets the bowl clean, got the jack. Now,
where's that ended up? Has it spat out, or has it gone down the ditch?
Joe Edwards' bowl, of course, is a bit toucher.
Is it?
So watch the Joe Edwards bowl. And it'll get to the jack. Just see where the bowl goes after that on the replay. And you'll see the Joe Edwards bowl coming through. So that's a touch in the ditch for New Zealand. And I've got the umpire out with the clothesline, the big ropes out, I think. I can't call, we might be able to see now where it went to. No, we can't see where it went to. Where the toucher actually went to, because it, the Carmen Henderson bowl sitting over there.
Yeah, it's hard to pick up with the shadow, but we've certainly got one in the ditch there. And you can see just right of the number 18 and down in the ditch. There's one. And here we go. I would have a bit of a close-up at this.
So they've got the rope out. I'll go there at the Carmen Henderson bowl, put the chocks underneath it. And they'll take the rope and measure out to that bowl first. And then we'll normally go to the bowl in the ditch.
And it's just hard to see, unfortunately, with that shadow.
It just makes it a wee bit difficult for us to be able to see exactly where the bowl is in the ditch. They go back to the Carmen Henderson bowl. Now that's looking at the bowl, it looks like the Carmen Henderson bowl's a shot. Yes, it is.
So 1 to Carmen Henderson. So she picks up shots on back-to-back ends and now makes it New Zealand and Joe Edwards 11 and Carmen Henderson of Norfolk Island 2.
So Joe Edwards played, a very good shot. If Joe had been successful in getting the bowl rather than the kitty, it would have been left laying holding a couple of shots, but not to be. So Carmen Henderson now has delivered the jack right down to the 2 metre mark.
Yeah, certainly playing with a bit more length as well. Joe Edwards very successful early on to start this match. Dominant, you'd have to say, and racing out to 11-0 lead. And a bit of applause going around would suggest that Australia has just nabbed a shot in the men's pairs. Now holding 1 shot. That's the, I think, the 6th end from memory of the men's pairs final. 18 ends. Shannon McElroy and Gary Lawson, the skip for New Zealand, against Ray Pearce and Nathan Rice of Australia. 9-2 they lead. And
we see the first bowl of Carmen Henderson's. It went into the ditch on the draw with that, as we said, the right on the 2 metre mark is the jack.
Yeah, right on the tee. So that's 2 metres from the back of the green, from the ditch. And so certainly from what they've played so far in this match, the longest end. We'll see who adapts the quickest, and so far it looks like it'll be Joe Edwards because she's actually on the carpet, whereas Carmen Anderson's in the ditch, and that's a great start by Joe Edwards, quickly adjusting, probably 1.5 feet away.
Very good opening bowl by the New Zealand singles player, and on this because they haven't played this 2 metre length before, in this game so far, and it sits just out low of the jack. So very good opening bowl by the New Zealand singles player as we watch Carmen Henderson's second bowl break down towards the head, and it's going to go past. It will, and falls in. No, it'll still be 1-2 New Zealand.
Yeah, although I think the marker said maybe a measure, so the camera angle may be slightly deceiving there.
So we'll see after the second bowl of Joe Edwards going towards the Southport, the Broadbeach end, and as it breaks down towards the head now, it's going to depend how much weight has it got. It's going to go past the Carmen Henderson bowl, and as Brenton rightly said, the marker calling it a measure at this point as Carmen Henderson.
And I can let you know as well that the Australian men's pair of Ray Pearce and Nathan Rice have picked up their third shot in the men's pairs final against the New Zealand pairing of Shannon McElroy and Gary Lawson. So it's 9-3 after 6 ends to New Zealand in the men's pairs final. Well, here in the women's singles final, it's been all Joe Edwards, although Carmen Henderson has fought back with shots on the last 2 ends to suggest she's not going to fall away. She is going to stick around.
Well, she certainly won't go away, Carmen Henderson. She'll be fighting right to the last bowler's plate, that's for sure. Always been a fighter, and Joe Edwards, she won't like that bowl.
And turns her back on that one. That one did not have the necessary weight or the line, as that is well short.
So Carmen Henderson now, she'll play, we'll just feel that wind now, and Carmen Henderson will play her 4th bowl. On this, the trailing 11-2, and it's on its way. And remembering that we are playing right up to the 2 metre mark, so it is a full length head, and that's going to cut across the line for sure. It was well under the line, so Joe Edwards now will play her bowl, and of course there's a measure for shot as indicated by the marker. So Joe Edwards, if she draws between those 2 bowls, she'll definitely have the shot.
A lot of room for Joe Edwards to work into. Can she make the adjustment after her 3rd bowl was well short? And it certainly looks like this one's on a better track. Has it got too much weight or looking good? Does Joe Edwards is going to take the jack even?
Turns the jack around the corner.
And that's the shot. So Joe Edwards, thank you very much, takes another one. And it will just be 1, I believe.
I think Joe knew that she possibly was a wee bit on the weighted side, but got the jack clean.
So another shot to Joe Edwards of New Zealand. She now leads Carmen Anderson of Norfolk Island 12-2 in the race to 21. The women's singles final here at the Asia Pacific Champs.
And in our men's pairs, it's 9-3 to New Zealand, 9-3 after 6 of the 18 ends. 6 ends completed, and it's 9-3 to the New Zealand combination of Shannon McElroy and Gary Lawson. So Joe Edwards, he's delivered the jack down towards the Surfers Paradise end.
And straight away you've seen the difference between the two, because Joe Edwards now, after winning the last end, she has the jack, she chooses where the mat goes, and straight away she's gone short. Didn't like that longer end, which Carmen Anderson actually struggled with a bit last end as well. But Carmen Anderson went right to the bottom here. Right at the bottom of the screen was the tee. That was where the jack was the last end. This time it's near the very top, so a much shorter end. And we'll see who adjusts quicker between these two. But certainly after the start Joe Edwards made, she has been enjoying the shorter ends, as this one almost a toucher, just in front by maybe a foot at the absolute most. And straight away online, and we're seeing already Carmen Anderson making a bit of a move to her right to get a better look at it, because from front on she can't see the jack.
No, because it's sitting exact dead middle of the centre line, just about a foot in front. And we'll see now Carmen Henderson and Norfolk Island play down on her forehand, trailing by 12-2 in the race to 21. And I see it sprint out to the side of the green, so obviously trying to coax it back in. we just definitely Joe Edwards holding shot. So Joe Edwards now playing his second bowl and definitely holding the shot. This bowl now breaks down towards the head. Look at this as it gets down towards the jack, and it's going to sit right on top of the jack. Just caresses the jack.
Front toucher by Joe Edwards. Great bowl again. You can see where Carmen Henderson's ended up. Apologies for this, that momentarily loss and picture. Hope you are enjoying our coverage wherever you may be on stuff.co.nz.
Of course, Carmen Henderson now changing her hand. Want to get down to the Joe Edwards bowl, and she's done that successfully and runs through and makes shot of it. Very good bowl from the Norfolk Island player. Changed her hand.
Takes the shot as well and puts the pressure back on Joe Edwards. One of the rare moments so far in this women's singles final. Joe Edwards now has to respond to Carmen Henderson rather than vice versa.
Out on that wider side, and it's going to come around for shot. No, it's not. Good weighted shot. And
not a bad effort. Touch too much weight, not quite the line, so it's still Carmen Henderson holding shot with that second bowl of hers.
So it raced to 21, and Joe Edwards leading 12-2 to the New Zealander. Good crowd in here at Broadbeach as we come to the end of week 1 of this Asia Pacific Championship. We watch now Carmen Henderson playing her bowl, and she doesn't like it. She's turned her back on that. Now I just wonder. No, Joe Edwards won't have any. In fact, she's drawn another shot. The one she didn't like, it came around the bowls and drew right into the gap.
Yeah, incredible. You've seen her chase those ones down previously and urged them on. This time just turned her back on it and turned out to be better than she ever thought it would be.
It just kept coming back. So here's now Joe Edwards 2 down, leading 12-2 in the race to 21.
Yeah, big bowl here for Joe Edwards. Can she salvage a shot out of it? There's a lot of room to work in, but I think she's asking quite a lot of this one. A lot of green. I don't know if it's quite going to have the guts to get round either. So
another yard of weight.
Now Carmen Anderson's going to have a bit of a look. Puts her bowl down on the green next to the mat. Says, I want to have a look at the head. I want to see exactly what can I do here. Can I add a third and really work my way back into the match? At the moment, Carmen Henderson trailing by 10. It's Joe Edwards of New Zealand 12. Carmen Henderson of Norfolk Island 2. And the race to 21, of course, the ends don't matter. It's all about who gets to 21 first in singles play. While the men's pairs on the rink just a couple away. We have Gary Lawson playing a big drive. And he came up with something. I don't know if he got the desired result, but I think there's a few claps from the New Zealand support staff around the place. So I think it will be a New Zealand shot at least. Wait and see what the marker says. In fact, it's 3. So a big drive from Gary Lawson. So New Zealand have control of this men's pairs final right now. 12-3. They now lead. Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy leading Nathan Rice and Ray Pearce of Australia. The first Trans-Tasman battle of the day went the way of the Australians. They took out the men's triples 19-12. So Ali Forsyth, Jamie Hill, Mike Kernahan having to settle for the silver medal. But Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy determined to go one better and knock over the Aussies.
Well, I've known Gary Lawson a long, long time. From when he won his very first New Zealand title, I've known Gary Lawson, and I saw him pumped up in 2008 when we won the singles, when we won the pairs and the fours in the Nationals in Christchurch, in the World Championships in Christchurch, and I haven't seen him as pumped up and prepared for a final as he is for this one today. He was determined that this is going to be, I'm back, and everyone's going to know I'm back, and certainly at a 12-3 lead, it's a good handy start after 7 ends. And in the women's singles, it was a 1-2 Carmen Henderson, 12-3, and she delivered the jack. And again, it's gone all the way right to the 2 metre mark. And it surprises me, Brenton, that Carmen Henderson's gone to that length, because we saw how there was struggle going up that way the end before. And in fact, the bowls went cut across the green, and Carmen Henderson really struggled going up that way on the full-length head. But that's where she's elected to go to. And so will I now draw a toucher? And just standing to my right-hand side, it was a part of that New Zealand fours winning side in 2008. Andrew Todd, as Carmen Henderson draws. Oh, she didn't quite prove me wrong. She drew just about a back toucher.
Well, that's why she wants the longer end. She wanted another go. She felt that suits her better. Didn't work out for her last time a couple of ends ago, but she's gone back to the tee, longest possible end, and has drawn a beautiful first bowl. Now, how can Joe Edwards respond after giving up the mat and the jack to Carmen Henderson?
It's a great response. It is a great effort from the New Zealand singles player, and falls about 15 inches just low of the jack. And it's a good opening bowl from Joe Edwards, but of course the bowl from Carmen Henderson is sitting virtually locked on top of the jack in the final of this women's singles of the Asia Pacific Championships, where we've got two New Zealand sides out here in action going for gold.
Yeah, incredible day with all four New Zealand teams in finals. First four finals of the Asia Pacific Championships. We have another four next Friday with the final day of these 2019 Asia Pacific Championships here on the Gold Coast of Australia. But right now the focus is very much on these two New Zealanders, well, three New Zealanders in fact, and Joe Edwards in the women's singles final in front of us. And then just passing by the camera there was Gary Lawson of the New Zealand men's pairs, the skip, along with Shannon McElroy, his lead, and trying to add a couple more golds to the one. If you've just joined us and you haven't caught up on the news, the New Zealand women's four claiming gold this morning, beating Malaysia in quite comprehensive fashion. It was in the end. And they have won New Zealand's first gold. New Zealand men's triple. They had to settle for silver after losing the final to Australia 19-12. And now it is the New Zealand men's pairs and Joe Edwards in the women's singles. And Edwards 12-3 up, racing to an 11-0 lead. And Carmen Henderson, though, fighting her way back, as she is known to do. Did it in her quarterfinal against Kelsey Cottrell of Australia. Did it in her semi-final against Malaysia. Now Carmen Henderson trying to stage an improbable comeback here.
So holding the shot is Carmen Henderson. Right on the jack, of course, is set right on the 2 metre mark. And that's gone right to the ditch. So Joe Edwards, only option really is to endeavour to play down to the counting bowl. Let's see if Joe Edwards can sit the bowl out on her four on its way. Just question how good that line is now, as it looks as though it's going to break under the line, and it is just under the line with the green.
Yeah, the weight looked good, didn't it, Kevin, but didn't quite have the right line out of the hand, and it meant that it was never really going to trouble the jack, and unfortunate to take that front bowl as well, but it probably would have ended up a good 1.5 meters to the right of the screen as we're looking at of that jack if there hadn't been bowls in front of it.
It needed to have about another 0.5 metre of green just to get that natural draw at the back end of it to get to the jack, as we'll see now. The Carmen Henderson, the Norfolk Island player. And of course, the last Asia Pacific Championships, Carmen Henderson was runner-up in the singles in Christchurch. So, very, very good international competitor.
Yeah, bronze the Asia Pacific Championships before that. And as I mentioned, way back in 1994, Commonwealth Games champion in the women's singles in Victoria, Canada.
Good bowl here coming from the Norfolk Island player, but just going to roll out of the counting area and will be one, as Joe Edwards will now play her last bowl on that forehand and just trying to get a wee bit more width in the bowl, an arc towards the jack to the counting bowl of the Norfolk Island player. This looks to have a better line as it breaks down toward. This looks closer, Brenton. This looks closer. This looks closer. And
it's very close. It takes the jack. Unfortunately, I don't think it's taken the shot, but so close.
Magnificent bolt there by Joe Edwards. And it just more than likely got too much movement into the jack. And Joe Edwards out with the measure to have a look to see what the story is. And he's gone around to 3 bowls they've gone around to. And we'll see.
All right, I think Carmen Henderson's going to do a measure as well. Wasn't willing to trust Joe Edwards there. Wants to do it herself, using Joe Edwards' measure, though.
It would lead one to think that it's Joe Edwards. Joe Edwards is confident that well, looking at it from now, over the cameras, Brenton, it does look a different angle from what we thought it was. And Joe Edwards seems to be confident that her bowler's the shot. That's correct, it is.
That's being... Oh, I'm going to check one more.
That's coming here. In fact, is it 2? Definitely 1, obviously, isn't it? To Joe Edwards.
Oh, Carmen Henderson isn't done here.
I don't know.
She wants to measure again. And there's one. We've got there eventually. So Joe Edwards with another shot. She's now 1 shot closer in the race to 21. 13-3. She now leads. Carmen Henderson of Norfolk Island. Joe Edwards attempting to win her first Asia Pacific gold in the women's singles. She is a 4-time gold medalist at the Asia Pacific Champs, but never before in the singles.
As I just see Nathan Rice draw right to the ditch for 2 shots for Australia in the men's pairs final.
So it is now New Zealand 12, Australia 5 after 8 of 18 ends in the men's pairs final. So New Zealand's still in a very commanding position. Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy, and we'll keep you up to date. You can just see them just to the right of picture there, right far of picture, just on the rink a couple away. So we're able to keep you up to date with that one throughout while we focus on one of the greats of modern day bowls for New Zealand, Joe Edwards, what we believe is her 600th game for New Zealand, and looking to celebrate with a gold medal.
And certainly good opening bowl, and as Brenton has said earlier in the commentary, that Joe Edwards has won numerous, of course, world championships, and she's not in the singles, but won a number of singles major events, Commonwealth Games back to back, but not a gold medal to date in the Asia Pacific Championship. So this would be one to add to the roster. And holding the shot here, and just asking as Joe Edwards where the bowl of Carmen Henderson is situated, virtually sitting jack level, about half a metre out. And Joe Edwards holding the shot just in behind the jack, and will play down towards the Surfers Paradise end. On the forehand, the tall figure dressed in black with the silver fern cap on, and her New Zealand shirt, which she's now wearing today for the 600th time, which is a fantastic effort. As you watch this bolt also break towards the head, that'll count. Slightly low the jack, but will be shot for sure. So Carmen Henderson, she'll play on her backhand, definitely 2 down to the 2 Joe Edwards bowls, 1 behind and 1 just in front of the jack. As it breaks down towards the head now, breaking in towards the jack area, looks to be just going to go past, is it? Yes, it does. And
it's measure the marker still indicating 2 for Joe Edwards, and once again with Joe Edwards having the mat and the jack, she's gone with a short end. It's just what maybe a couple of feet away from the shortest possible end, after we've had a very long end from Carmen Henderson. And this is why, because Joe Edwards has this great touch with these shorter ends, and she's now holding 3, first 3 bowls. Now Carmen Henderson has to respond. She has to get one close.
Absolutely. because definitely you would think if she doesn't get one close here, every chance she'll be looking at 4 down. As here's Carmen Henderson on her backhand. Got that away with a bit of a flick. And that tends to think it can go onto the narrow side. And definitely got away with a flick. And is going to run narrow but sit on a New Zealand bowl. And
so that will cut the count. Is it cut it by 1 or is it cut it by 2?
I think New Zealand's still holding the 2 shots.
Marker's going to have a bit of a look for us.
See what the marker says.
So now, saying a measure.
A measure for shot. Just
Wow.
The angle, obviously, right over the head is different to what...
Here we go. There's a great look at it. So that bowl, close, the second bowl, to the left there is the possible shot bowl, and then the 2 back bowls. Joe Edwards is one. So you can see why it's a measure. Maybe from that angle, maybe I favoured Carmen Henderson, actually. So Joe Edwards now with a big bowl to play.
On that backhand, trying to get that draw down to her bowl or to the jack. Looks as though it's got to come back a wee bit yet. How's the weight though? Is it breaking all the way back now? Is it going to get all the way back? Yes, it does. If it falls in, that's certainly the shot. And
shot and a measure, says the marker for New Zealand. So you can certainly tell that the greens sped up as well. We had, 14.5 this morning, I think 14.8. Yep. I think we must be around the 16.
We'll be about 16, around the
17.
17 seconds, just been told by Peter Bellis. So we're only a second out. See Gary Lawson on the drive next door to us. So, and another shot here for Joe Edwards. Definitely one and a measure as indicated by the marker. And Joe Edwards leading at this stage 13-3 and definitely one to go up. And I think Joe Edwards has already said that's the lot.
Yeah, that's one.
She was happy with just the one.
One to Joe Edwards. So she is now just 7 shots away from this women's singles title here at the Asia Pacific Championships, Broadbeach Bowls Club on the Gold Coast of Australia. Joe Edwards of New Zealand now leading Carmen Anderson of Norfolk Island 14-3 in this race to 21.
And of course next week we will have, on the finals day, we will have the finals of the women's pairs and women's triples and the men's singles and men's fours, so everyone reverses around. So we'll have 3 days of section play. The 2 sections, they play in a round robin environment, and of course the top 2 or 3 sides, they make their way through to the quarterfinals, semis and final stages played over 2 days, and that will be next Thursday and Friday here at Broadbeach, and we will be bringing all of that action as we watch Joe Edwards' bolt just come in behind the jack by about half a metre. But again, Brendan, everything's on the line. That's the...
Yeah, so rarely does she err from that line, doesn't she? Yeah, we'll certainly have all that coverage for you here on stuff.co.nz. And there's 2 sections in each of the 4 disciplines next week, as we see a big fist pump from Gary Lawson. He's still got a bowl to play, but he's holding 1 shot, so he must have been down a couple at least. And now putting the pressure back on his fellow lead and counterpart Nathan Rice.
One of the best ditch drawers in the world. Any shadow of doubt. Lurch. Nathan Rice from the Helensville Club, certainly dynamic draw player. And as I watch now, Joe Edwards' bolt break down towards the head, his second bowl. It's going to sit inside and slightly jack level it'll run out. And be holding the shot as we watch Nathan Rice, in fact, fall very short, I think.
Well, you just gave him a rap.
I did. Well, commentators cursed. We might have worked
it out. Oh, you did it deliberately, did you? It's a bit mean. I don't think Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy need us to help them out.
Now look behind us here now. We've got a big crowd in here now at Broadbeach this afternoon. They're right behind us here. There's all standing in behind the greens. The grandstand's full along the side. Sun streaming down. New Zealand are going well. It's a good afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see them all behind the green there. And there's a big grandstand here, which is seemingly full. A lot of people finding other chairs and standing room only here at the Broadbeach Bowls Club. It's great to see, and we're getting two matches rather, that are befitting of a big crowd as well.
Joe Edwards trying to get to the jack or sit on the bowl of Carmen Henderson, and doesn't, but fell out, not in. And it's 2 more to New Zealand in the men's pairs, and I see the market going up.
Yeah, so it's now 14-5, and we're halfway through that men's pairs final. 14-5 New Zealand leading in the men's pairs final. Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy over Nathan Rice and Ray Pearce. So it's going well for New Zealand so far this afternoon. Joe Edwards here, 14-3 up in the race to 21 in the women's singles.
And 1 down on the head, maybe 2 down now on the head to Carmen Henderson. I'll just see what the marker indicates. I'm sure that bowl of Carmen Henderson is definitely the shot. As I watch now, Joe Edwards, the New Zealand singles player, and playing with weight to get down to those counting bowls, has to get under everything clean. Got the jack out to the side.
Everything. That was absolute ping pong there. If we get a replay, that would be fantastic, because that it was pinball in there, wasn't it, after that first touch from Joe Edwards. See a replay here as it takes that
wide
front
of the
bowl.
target, and got it was a side slide that came in.
Great replay. We're able to bring you here on stuff.co.nz of that bowl. And now who's holding a shot? Wait for the marker to put up. I think it's Joe Edwards, at least 1, maybe 2. Great
work by the cameraman, by Robbie. Wonderful job. And Ben, our producer, and of course Tamara back in New Zealand, who's the operations manager of all this, so to speak, back in New Zealand. Doing a wonderful job bringing this production to you, bringing this live coverage on stuff.co.nz. And Carmen Henderson drew the shot.
He drew the shot there beautifully, because the jack flopped out the side. You see some of the New Zealand support staff. We see members of the gold medal winning New Zealand women's 4 there, and Val Smith and Kirsten Edwards, Wendy Jensen, and sitting down is Caitlin Inch on her phone. We've got Mark Cameron, the Chief Executive of Bowls New Zealand, Kaushik Patel, the High Performance Manager, and Sharon Sims, coach of the New Zealand women's 4 as well. And they are sitting in, watching the 2 New Zealand teams in action. Joe Edwards in the women's singles, and of course Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy and the men's pairs. What could be a pretty special day here. Already 1 gold medal. Could it be 3?
Of course, Peter Bellis sitting here in front of us, part of the head coach of New Zealand. Of course, sitting next to him is Dave Edwards, the husband of Joe and former New Zealand coach and at the 2008 and 2016 World Bowls, now based at Pine Rivers. And I see hidden way over on the far side over there is New Zealand selector Marlene Castle's way over there in the shadows on the far side, watching the Joe Edwards match. So great contingent of New Zealand support here this afternoon.
Yeah, and no doubt a few expats in the crowd as well, who aren't part of the official Bowls New Zealand party in attendance.
So here's now Joe Edwards leading 14-4, and Carmen Henderson has played her first bowl and has lowered the jack as Joe Edwards' bowl just goes by a few metres.
Yeah, I love the punch and counter punch as far as the strategy goes, isn't it? We're having to move our cameras all the time because we've got the short ends for Joe Edwards whenever she wins an end, and then when Carmen Anderson has the mat and the jack, goes long again. Not quite on the tee this time, but still a longer end.
Well, but as you and I have said about Carmen Anderson, Brenton, and watched her playing, 14-4 down doesn't really... Carmen Anderson wouldn't really even know what the score is. She'll just keep plugging away. She's pulled back big deficits we've already seen twice in this singles event. So she'll be still trying to score shot by shot and taking the challenge to the New Zealand player. As I watch this bowl, Joe Edwards is, and it's going to fall under the second shot. No, it's not. Falls on top of it. So that's 2 to the Norfolk Island singles player, Carmen Henderson, holding 2 shots.
And of course, these 2 met and section play as well, so they're in the same section. 21-14 from memory, I think it was. Joe Edwards beating Carmen Henderson of Norfolk Island, but these two have had several matches. There's Carmen Henderson chasing this one down, urging, willing her bowl closer to the jack. That's not a bad effort.
Will it count?
Didn't quite have it. She just gestured in a bit of disgust there that it didn't quite run on, didn't have the weight that she was after, and still a big opening here on this backhand side for Jo Edwards.
So Jo Edwards will play her third bowl. She'll play down on that. She's definitely got a wider green this time. Definitely got a different line with this bowl. How's the weight as it breaks down towards the head? Won't be 3 down, that's for sure. Still 2 though, I would say, to the Norfolk Island player.
Yeah, maybe just 1. It'll be interesting. That one's straight on, where the other one's a bit on an angle, and I think that's what we're going to get. Here we are. No, there's 2. So your eyes are better than mine. So 2 to Carmen Henderson holding, and she goes to play her 4th and final shot of this end. Jo Edwards will play her last afterwards, so she'll be able to react and have a chance to have a look at the head as well. But Carmen Henderson putting a bit of pressure back on Jo Edwards. She fights to continue in this match.
So here's Carmen Henderson. The arms went flaying out to the side, and she's following. Well, she's out to the side of the mat. Certainly got a good arc on this bowl. It's going to run into her own bowl. If it runs into her own, no, it doesn't. It feathers it and runs past, and it won't count. So
it leaves the door open for Edwards. And it's saying 1 and a measure now, perhaps, was the marker.
Jo Edwards just needs to get a metre of weight on her last bowl, and it'll be close to shot. And it's delivered out on that wider side, which is favourable for the New Zealander.
Yeah, I don't know if she likes it. She put her head down almost straight away, and now she claps her hands together. Yeah, only needed a touch more weight, and she got a couple of metres more weight, unfortunately. So it's going to be certainly 1, potentially 2 for Carmen Henderson. Jo Edwards will let the marker know. Yes, it is 2 more shots to Carmen Henderson. So after Jo Edwards ran out to 11-0 lead, Carmen Henderson has now got 6 of the last 9 shots. So it is 14-6 now on the race to 21. Jo Edwards still with a big lead over Carmen Henderson of Norfolk Island, but the veteran, 63-year-old, certainly not going away.
And a 1 to the Australian combination in the men's pairs. The Nathan Rice and Ray Pearce combination scoring a 1 over Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy. I think that score was 14-6-2, is it? I can't see the board from here, but it was definitely 1 to Australia.
Yeah, 14-6 correct, Kevin. A score to the New Zealand men's pair. So after 10 ends of the 18. So New Zealand in a good position there. New Zealand in a good position here too.
So Carmen Henderson straight away, we see that jack back to the 2 metre mark, which she certainly likes it, and she's left that one short by a good metre and a bit. So here's a very good chance for Jo Edwards, a New Zealand player, playing her 600th match for New Zealand, to make amends. Just had a couple of scratchy ends and get back into that rhythm which she's so good at, and has been so good at all around the world, Commonwealth Games, World Bowls, you name it. And as this bowl now breaks down towards the head, looks to have a good arc to the jack. Got a touch on it, just what we were talking about. That's the line that Jo Edwards wanted to be on and needed to be on, and drew a good shot in behind the jack. The race to 21. Perfect conditions here now, with a great crowd in. Rest day tomorrow, and then back into it on Monday morning at the greens of Helensvale, Musgrove Hill and Broadbeach, as we watch this bowl now of Carmen Henderson's breaking down towards the head. How far is it going to come back? It's breaking its way back now. Has it got the weight to get all the way? No, it hasn't. It's short of that line, so Joe Edwards will certainly, she'll be doing her utmost to capitalise to the front of the jack to really put the pressure on the third bowl of Carmen Henderson. On its way is the Joe Edwards bowl. Just might be on the narrower side, and it is. In fact, will skip past, but might make two if it sits on, and more than likely may well have, because it's sat on, in fact, and it is two, as the marker indicated, sat on the Carmen Henderson bowl. So Carmen Henderson now will play her third bowl, definitely two down. The Norfolk Island player.
And again, this long end, she's favouring. And to continue to play long ends, she has to continue to win the ends, not give up the mat and the jack. So she's got some work to do in this one. As the market is coming around to have a little look to make sure it is two. And this one looks like it's got too much weight. It's going to sit right at the back, just in front of the ditch. As you can see there, in fact, quite comfortably in from the ditch. Might, depending on the angle, that could be the second shot.
Could be second shot, Brendan. Yeah, not 100% sure, but Joe Edwards certainly now want to get another bowl in there to really put the pressure on Carmen Henderson and the scoreboard for it. As this bowl now breaks down towards the head, this looks to be well weighted, this bowl. And it's going to come right into the centre line, and that will definitely count, that bowl.
Yeah, I think it certainly was the second shot, this bottom bowl here, before that last Joe Edwards one. So I'd say it's now two. Before it was one. So Joe Edwards putting the pressure back on her opponent.
14-6 to New Zealand in the men's pairs. 14-6 after 10 of 18 ends, as Carmen Henderson on the mat to play her last bowl. Definitely two down on the head and trailing Joe Edwards, 14-6. It was the jack, as Brendan said, sitting right on the 2 metre mark. And well, on its way. And this changed to hand, and
doesn't look like it's got the weight.
No, it's got the Joe Edwards front bowl.
And roll that close, and maybe that's now a third potentially. The marker's going to have a look and indicating two, was it? Yeah, indicating two. In fact, it's Carmen's bowl.
Carmen's
Thank
bowl.
you. The light was a bit deceiving, but great replay, able to show that it was just the two still holding here. Carmen Henderson's bowl that she knocked a bit closer.
And Carmen Henderson played her 4 bowls, and this bowl to Joe Edwards is on that wide line. How's the weight as it starts to break towards the head? Is it going to get back far enough? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it doesn't like that. Claps the hands again.
2 more to the New Zealander.
It should be 2. Carmen Henderson might want to have a look at this. She's not just going to give up 2 without a bit of a look at the head herself.
Definitely New Zealand scoring.
And it is 2. So New Zealand, Joe Edwards, a step closer towards that Asia Pacific Championship gold in the women's singles. She's now leading Carmen Henderson of Norfolk Island 16-6 in the race to 21.
So the New Zealand player, as Brenton said earlier, playing her 600th game for New Zealand.
Well, we believe so anyway.
We believe so. I was there.
You lose count after a while, don't you, Kevin?
Well, I was there
when
when I'm trying to think about, because I was actually there when both Joe Edwards and Val Smith were very close to one another, played their 500 games for New Zealand, and that wasn't last year, that was a few years ago. So no, the jack has been the shortened up jack, as we've seen right throughout this game, that Carmen Henderson likes to play to the back, and Joe Edwards the shorter length head. Man, a good opening bowl there from the New Zealand player.
Hope you're enjoying the coverage wherever you are watching around New Zealand or around the world on stuff.co.nz. Very proud and privileged to bring you this coverage of the Asia Pacific Championships, the first of the finals days here at the Broadbeach Bowls Club on the Gold Coast of Australia. Already been 1 gold for New Zealand this morning. If you have only recently joined us, and New Zealand women's 4, we brought you that coverage, that live stream of their win over Malaysia in the final. So a gold to Val Smith, Caitlin Inch, Kirsten Edwards and Wendy Jensen. Silver medal to the New Zealand men's triple of Ali Forsyth, Jamie Hill and also Mike Kernahan. They lost their final to Australia. And now we've got a chance at 2 more gold medals. New Zealand leading
New
both.
Zealand in the pairs.
Yeah, so it's now 15-6 for New Zealand. The combination of Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy over Australian combination of Nathan Rice and Ray Pearce. And that's after 11 ends now, so 7 ends remaining. Unlike the singles, which is a race to 21, it doesn't matter how many you score, as long as you score more than the opposition and the 18 ends, and certainly New Zealand looking in a commanding position here, up by 9. They can afford to drop a shot on the last 7 ends and still win.
So here comes Carmen Henderson, the Norfolk Island singles player. Changed her hand, breaks down towards the head, and we'll just see the marker indicating that it is 1 to New Zealand. The side bowl, Joe Edwards' bowl, is the shot. The bowl sitting out to the side. Joe Edwards will play again on her forehand, 16-6. And it's on its way. Breaks down towards the head. It's just going to depend on the weight because it's certainly on a good line to the jack. This is a good bowl from the New Zealand singles player and will sit alongside the jack.
Yeah, holding 2 indicates the marker for Joe Edwards. So that bowl just to the right of the jack, just delivered by Edwards, and that one to the left. So piling the pressure on Carmen Henderson. She can't afford to give up more big numbers, as Edwards now only 5 shots away in the race to 21.
Carmen Henderson's got to... she's just got to stop the flow, so to speak, because, Joe Edwards can drop 1, I suppose you could say, but it's certainly, she's commanding at present as the New Zealand singles player. As we watch now, Carmen Henderson trying to get to her own bowl, but in fact she's just going to sit on the shot bowl. She does. She actually just slid under 2 bowls, did Carmen Henderson, to get to that shot bowl, and I'm picking... The marker's having a good look, looking at just from our angle. Seems to favour the Norfolk Island, and it does. We see the marker, the lollipops go up, and it's 1 to the Norfolk Island, Carmen Henderson. So we'll see. Joe Edwards will try and play down and dislodge that bowl, try and draw over the top of it. It's on its way, and she's changed her hand. Don't think that's going to come back far enough, is it, on that line? It's coming back now, though. It's coming back now. Is it going to get all the way back? Is it going to get all the way? Have a look at that.
Almost a touch of that. Must only be mere centimetres in front. Well, what a bowl from
When you
Joe
look where
Edwards.
that bowl came from on the frame, on the monitor, Brent, it drew in, thread the needle, it drew in between those two bowls, one jack level and one just in front of the jack, and just drew all the way back. And of course, Carmen Henderson can't afford to be too risky. She can't charge at this, because if she dislodges her own bowl, she's three down. That 3 down would be 19-6. So she certainly can't afford to really rush at it.
Looks like she's going to play with some weight, though. She's winding up as Carmen Henderson and playing with weight.
This is gambling stuff. This is gambling stuff. She'll look at this. She's going to get the bowl. Have a look. Still, no, left Joe Edwards with, could still be 3.
Certainly 2. Could potentially be 3. And Carmen Henderson, when there's risks, sometimes doesn't work out. And you talked about that, Kevin. You said it'd be risky if she played with weight, but she played with the weight, and it didn't come out with her. She managed to get the shot bowl, but hers was nowhere to be seen as it knocked hers away. And it is 3 to New Zealand. So, Joe Edwards is only 2 shots away now. 2 shots away from taking out the women's singles title here and the gold medal at the Asia Pacific Championships at Broad Beach Bowls Club on the Gold Coast of Australia. A second gold medal looming for this New Zealand team today. And in the men's pairs is Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy, 15-6 up after 11 of 18 ends. And the men's pairs decide it as well. Joe Edwards. Well, she got off to a fast start, had the first 11 shots of the game and just a handful of ends. Carmen Henderson fought back, but then that mistake just then from Carmen Henderson could prove costly.
Well, it was the roulette wheel, really, Brendan. You know, it was, only one bowl on the head, and looking at the scoreboard at 16-6, and even if she got the bowl clean out, it was only going to be a one-shot score anyway. And the odds were stacked against her because you don't have to be very far out to cause yourself a lot of damage, and that's duly what happened. She wasn't that far off target, really, but as we watch Joe Edwards now, here we come right to the jack, sits right on top, a touch up at 19-6, pressure on straight away onto the Norfolk Island player.
What a way to start, isn't it? An end. No sign of any kind of nervousness, close to the finish line now. Joe Edwards, not going to see that. She plays every end as if it's the first and is placing the shot right on the jack. Good response by Carmen Anderson. We saw this earlier in the match where they were just peppering the jack. You could throw a tissue over about 4 or 5 bowls, and exactly what we've seen so far from the lead bowl from both players. Edwards for New Zealand, Anderson for Norfolk Island.
I just see the men's pairs. Gary Lawson just have 2 drives and have 2 ear shots. And it's the end of that. So obviously Australia holding. I don't know what the numbers are.
It's going to be a few, that's for sure. As the marker, I see bringing out I think it's going to be 4 or 5. It could be potentially. Those could be costly misses by Gary Lawson of New Zealand. We'll give you that score before we continue to turn our attention to this. Is that 5? Is that 6?
Is that the lot?
It is 6. Wow, that's a big mistake then by Gary Lawson, coming up empty with a drive. A 6 dropped on the 12th end, so now that's tightened things up very closely. 15-12 it is now. Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy still leading, but only 3 shots they lead Ray Pearce and Nathan Rice of Australia. 6 ends remaining, and we'll catch the end of the men's pairs if it does indeed finish shortly, this women's singles final. We will catch the rest of that for you here on stuff.co.nz as the women's singles final looks like it's reaching a conclusion. Joe Edwards just 2 shots away, and there's still 6 ends remaining in that men's pairs final, which has tightened right up after the Aussies pick up 6 on the 12th end.
Yeah, very surprised to see Gary Lawson driving at that situation, but it's what he elected to do, so you just got to get on with it. As Joe Edwards now holding the shot, and Joe Edwards holding the shot at leading at 19-6 in the race to 21, and Joe Edwards holding the shot. And Carmen Henderson got a bowl only but centimetres away though. So here comes the bowl of Joe Edwards. Got one bowl sitting right on the jack. And it's just going to finish jack level.
Yeah, not happy with that one, Joe Edwards, as she was hitting her towel against her legs. Wanted that to be more in the area. Wasn't that far away, just didn't quite have the line, got the weight right. Now Carmen Anderson
trying to get into where the play with virtually just a yard of weight to try and get to the counting Joe Edwards bowl.
She hangs her head in the air, does Carmen Anderson. That wasn't what she wanted, too much weight. Oh, too wide, didn't have the line.
See now.
Weight wasn't that bad.
Joe Edwards holding one. sitting right on top of the jack. On its way, changing a hand, and I can see, no doubt, trying to get past the head, I would imagine, because Carmen Henderson attacks down there on that side to the bowl, the jack. Any jack movement is in favour of the Norfolk Island player. Joe Edwards holding the shot.
Here comes Carmen Henderson, winding up on the mat. She's going to play with some weight, but not a drive. Just try and get rid of that shot bowl of Joe Edwards. It looks narrow. I think it's going to come up empty. It is.
Under the line.
So it should be another shot to Joe Edwards of New Zealand. I think Carmen Anderson will want to have a look at the head before she gives it up. In fact, she's willing to give it up. So 1 to Joe Edwards, and she's at match point. 1 away. 20-6. She now leads Carmen Anderson of Norfolk Island. So in this race to 21, Joe Edwards, he's just one more. Often said this is the toughest to get. But the way Joe Edwards is playing, I don't think it will be too difficult for her. She doesn't seem like that kind of player that the pressure gets to. In fact, when it gets tougher, she certainly gets stronger and stronger, as we've seen in some of the matches so far in this Asia Pacific Championships, especially against Kelly McCarrahan, when Kelly McCarrahan of Canada in a quarterfinal gave her a great test. But when it got close, when it got most important towards the deciding stages, Joe Edwards just played near flawless bowls.
She certainly did, and sitting on 20 points to 6 in the race to 21 as this first bowl of Joe Edwards breaks down towards the head. What an opener. What an opener when you're sitting on 20, just mere centimetres away. And are we looking at 2 from 2 in the women's pursuit of gold?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Joe Edwards, I suppose, was almost expected of her, being the reigning Commonwealth Games women's singles champion from Broadbeach last year. The women's fours, a nice surprise. Of course, Australia, the reigning champions, didn't even make the final. They were knocked out by Malaysia. And New Zealand took care of Malaysia in their final earlier today. So, yes, on the verge of going 2 for 2, the women, with the pairs and triples to come next week. Section play to start on Monday. 3 days of section play. Then we'll have quarters and semis live streamed here on stuff.co.nz. The finals on Friday, 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. New Zealand time.
Look at this from Joe Edwards now, just sitting right in behind the jack. And Carmen Henderson certainly has to get to the jack.
Yeah, she needs something special just to prolong this, because Joe Edwards is on the verge here. This shorter end, not seemingly suiting the Norfolk Islander. This one has a touch too much weight. She's just struggled to find her touch, as Edwards, after 2 bowls, holding 2.
Holding match, and we'll no doubt now try and get down to the same sort of area as where that last bowl of Carmen Anderson's went to. So if Carmen Henderson is successful with the trail, that we've got a bowl over the head, and in fact this is going to make it more difficult now for Carmen Henderson, because it's mixed the bowls up, and with the weight that Carmen Henderson's playing, you've got Joe Edwards has now got 3 bowls all in a line, 2 right in behind the jack area. We may well be seeing more weight here from Carmen Henderson, because the small trail will not work in her favour, and she is
playing with weight, so not the drive, but playing with weight, trying to get rid of the jack. It's narrow though. It's narrow. It's not going to touch anything. It's just going to go away, and so she's only got one more opportunity now, Carmen Anderson. Joe Edwards holding 3. And that one, I think, has gone out of the red. They're just checking to see if it's actually still in play. That you can see that market just moving over. One of the spectators say, "Get out of the way, please. I'll take your seat while I check." And it is out of play. So that Carmen Anderson bowl, which is out of picture, is not on the green.
And 1 to New Zealand in the men's pairs now. 16-12 now to New Zealand after 13 of the 18 ends.
So Joe Edwards just looking for some cover. Don't know if she quite wanted that much weight, but it's not going to be in a bad position. It's going to be closer to the tee, I'd say, if Carmen Henderson does drive here and it spurts out the jack.
Here we go. Game.
And she's going to play with weight. Will it be a drive?
Joe Edwards lying game as Carmen Henderson trying to get to the jack. It's breaking its way now towards the jack. Is it going to get the jack? Yes, it did. Got the jack out to the side.
But it's not going to be enough.
Got the jack to the side.
Because Joe Edwards has got a smile across her face. The applause ringing out, I think. It's still going to be Joe Edwards. Is it shake hands time? Yes, it is. New Zealand's Joe Edwards is the Asia Pacific Women's Singles Champion. She has just beaten the veteran, a long-time rival, Carmen Henderson, in the final here. What a performance from Joe Edwards, the two-time defending Commonwealth Games Women's Singles Champion from Glasgow and Gold Coast, has now won Asia Pacific Women's Singles Gold for the first time. She is now an 8-time medalist at the Asia Pacific Championships, her 5th gold medal. And what a performance, Kevin Hicklin.
Oh, it certainly was. And, you know, I go back to yesterday when we watched that game with Kelly McCarrahan, where, you know, Kelly McCarrahan played very, very well. But I think in that game we saw when Joe Edwards won that was here I come. And she certainly showed against the Indian opponent in the semi-final, who had earlier beaten, of course, Joe in section play. And Joe had a convincing win there, and then she continued on that way today. You know, Carmen Henderson had 2 come-from-behind wins against Kelsey Cottrell of Australia, and in the game against the Philippines player came from behind to win, and not to be, though, in this particular case, the New Zealand Queen of the Green, the world Queen of the Greens, really, the #1 singles player in the world, Joe Edwards, who was just too good on the day. And what a day for the New Zealand women. 2 finals, 2 golds.
Yeah, fantastic, isn't it? And already they've met their target of 2 gold medals from these Asia Pacific Championships, and only 3 events down so far. They want 5 medals in total. They're going to pick up 4 in the opening weekend. 4 from 4 medals wise, and already 2 gold. And now attentions will quickly turn to the men's pairs, where we have 5 ends remaining in that match, so plenty of time remaining, and that match is tightened right up. As Joe Edwards saying thank you to the officials as well as Carmen Henderson. Now I think a big hug for Gail Melrose, her coach, who has been there throughout these Asia Pacific Championships. Of course, that loss on day 1 was a bit of a surprise to India's Tanya Chowdhury, but she's been flawless since then, hasn't dropped a match, and has been absolutely brilliant in her matches in knockout play. Kelly McCarrahan gave her everything she got, the Canadian, in the women's singles in the quarter-final, and then when Edwards got that, she pretty much had the gold medal as she ran away with wins over first Tanya Chowdhury in the semi-finals of India, and now today, this afternoon, against Carmen Anderson of Norfolk Island. A fine performance by New Zealand's double Commonwealth Games champion. She is now, for the first time, an Asia Pacific champion. As we see Shannon McElroy, front of pitcher, waiting for the bowl of Gary Lawson.
1 down on the head, New Zealand at this point, as Gary Lawson, in fact, just ran into his own short bowl. I don't know what difference it made. It sort of careered in towards the head. And 16-12 New Zealand leading in that pairs, and still 1 to Australia. And of course we'll bring you the last 4 ends of this final of the men's pairs. That's between Nathan Rice and Ray Pearce of Australia against Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy. The New Zealand side had a comfortable lead, and then on the 12th end they dropped a 6, which was most uncharacteristic, and came back, scored a 1, and 1 down on the head here, and leading 16-12 with 13 of the 18 ends completed. And the New Zealand women will be standing on the dais later on this afternoon And they'll be standing at the top of the dais as the gold medals are given out. It will be the New Zealand fours, and now Joe Edwards as well with the singles. And will it be as well the New Zealand men's pairs as I watch Gary Lawson chip an Australian bowl? And he chipped it in far enough for another counter or not. Just the one. The marker puts his marker peg up to say 1 to Australia. And with one bowl left now for Nathan Rice, the tall Australian skip from the Helensvale Club here in the Gold Coast, which of course is being used for these championships. So here we have now Nathan Rice, the big tall Australian skip on the backhand. He's trying to get to the Gary Lawson bowl, and he pushes the Gary Lawson bowl out for a huge number.
Yeah, a huge end for Australia. Well, it's at least 3, is it 4? There's 4, I believe, so we're all tied up. Wow. We've got a thrilling conclusion here. 16 all it is. After, now I believe that's 14 ends, is it? Yeah, 14 ends, I believe, completed. So, wow, what a haul for Australia. New Zealand were up big in this match. They were up 14-6. And now it's tightened right up. 4 ends remaining. And we're 16 apiece as we hopefully have a chance to grab Joe Edwards.
Coming our way.
Joe Edwards, the champion of the women's singles. Just firstly, hug and embrace with her husband, Dave Edwards, former New Zealand coach. Another fine performance from Joe Edwards, champion of the women's singles in the Asia Pacific Championships. And she's about to join us here in our commentary position. It's great that all the players have provided us with such great access and joining us in our commentary position as so soon after their performances here on the Gold Coast. And we are now joined by Joe Edwards, gold medalist at the Asia Pacific Championships. Well, Joe, talk us through that performance because, geez, you seem to have it on a string.
Yeah, look, it kind of got on the weight pretty quickly, which is so important in any game, you know. But the first 2 bowls in singles, you can really set it up for yourself. And yeah, Carmen really struggled with the weight today. It just wasn't a Carmen-like performance. So lucky for me, it wasn't. But yeah, no, I was very happy with how I played. It felt good. Yeah, I wasn't too disturbed when she got anything close, you know, just ones are okay to drop, but don't drop big numbers, so yeah.
And what is it about these greens here? You seem to be in love with them.
Oh, look,
take them home?
Yeah, look, to be fair, they ran kind of similar to New Zealand greens today. They were reasonably quick, nice wide draw, and it's, you know, having played so many years over there, I think it is an advantage when you come onto a broad beach green that's running quick. So, you know, just to see your bowl turn, it's a little bit, sometimes a little bit deceiving because a lot of the greens in Australia run, you know, 14, 15, and you don't get that much turn out of your bowl. But no, it was you certainly had to throw it out today.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw them hooping round, didn't we? It was fantastic to see. You set the tone early. How important was that to get out to that big lead? I suppose if you had any nerves, I don't know if you did, to calm those.
Oh, look, definitely have nerves before any big final. You know, I think I'll be scared if I don't. You know, yeah, but I think it's just a matter of trying to, you know, I suppose over the years I've learned how to kind of control those nerves. It is a good thing to have them, but you've got to kind of use them in a real positive way to really, it is a special game, but it is just another game. And, you know, it's the same game, it's the same kind of rink, same bowls, and you just got to try and get them as close as you can.
Well, gold at the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games in the women's singles, gold at the Asia Pacifics in the women's singles. What are you going to give us at the World Championships in about 11 months' time, eh?
Got to be selected first.
Well, you think you're in doubt? Maybe
never,
who else is going to take the spot, Joe?
Never ever take anything for granted. I'll give you the tip. No, it's if I've always said, I'll play wherever selected and with whoever I'm selected with. So that hasn't changed and it won't change.
And obviously you're going to watch the conclusion of this men's pairs match, which now you see all tied up 16 apiece. But how inspired were you of the women's for as well, and making sure that you had a gold alongside your good mate Val?
Oh, look, too right. They've been awesome all week. They've scrapped through some games and, for a new combination, a couple of youngies in the team, a couple of wise, experienced heads. It was a great achievement for them, and they thoroughly deserved their gold medal. And you kind of think, oh God, I don't want to be the only girl without a little goldie. But hey, you've got to go back to the process and just trying to stay in the moment and just draw the shot, really.
And just lastly, obviously you've got Edwards Squared coming up next week. Yourself and Kirsten in the women's pairs. Well, what are your expectations there? What are you looking for?
Look, similar to this week, just try, and each green that you're on is a different speed, so it's really, really important that your trial ends you learn as much from them as possible, because you're on a different green every game, and that's tough in itself, really. You don't, your surroundings change, the speed changes, the line changes, and I haven't played a lot with Kirsten. I played a bit a few years ago, but nothing recently, so I think, like the fours have done, just keep that enjoyment up, and yes, I just hope no one asks me if I'm her mother again, like a number of times.
Really? The way you're looking at me is if I asked the question, Joe.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, we'll let you go. Congratulations once again. We look forward to seeing you up on that dais and presented with that gold medal.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Joe Edwards there, gold medalist in the women's singles. So great for her to be able to join us so soon after getting that gold as well. And now our attention's turned to the men's pairs. We've got a cracker in store here. The final 4 ends is the 15th of 18 ends in progress right now. What can they come up with?
2 down. Nathan Rice was and played a magnificent shot to get the shot. Played the old push and shove through the head and rested on top of the Gary Lawson bowl. 16 all, of course, now. And we are playing the 15th end.
And of course our angles are going to be slightly deceiving because they're coming over from the cameras from the rink. We just had Joe Edwards' women's singles match on, so do bear with us as well. That was a great bowl by Gary Lawson, and a good healthy Kiwi crowd in attendance as well, cheering that one on against the hometown Aussies, and the crowd really relishing this contest. Standing room only here at the Broad Beach Bowls Club.
Not sure who's got shot there. Gary Lawson certainly rattled around the head. Shannon McElroy bowl, which is in there, and
it's hard to tell even from looking at it live as well with my own eyes.
And they're looking at because the measure bowl is the yellow, the bowl in front, the obviously Australian yellow bowl.
And watch out for the marker to the left here as well. He may give us an indication. He's going to have a bit of a look himself. The marker. Give us a thought. I think he's going to hold up the red lollipop. No, he's going to say a measure. Too difficult to tell.
Yeah.
I'll leave it up to you guys to sort out later, he says.
Yeah, not surprising. That was the choice of the market. So 2 golds for the New Zealand women's side today with the fours. Val Smith skip side, beating Malaysia. And we just saw then, of course, Joe Edwards defeating Carmen Henderson to give New Zealand 2 golds for the day. Marvellous achievement. To watch now, Nathan Rice playing down towards us here. And
running after it is Nathan Rice, who's about to come into picture. Here he comes. And it's in the area. It's going to slide past. Where's that knocked to Jack? Has that knocked it closer to the Australian bowl or not? Certainly a touch. A great effort by Nathan Rice. I think New Zealand may hold a shot here.
I think so.
Just looking with the naked eye.
Because it was the marker. Is he going to do something now? He's certainly. It is 2 to New
Zealand. 2 to New Zealand. And
2 to New Zealand.
Third bowl to come from Gary Lawson. Well, this is huge if he can somehow draw another one in here, it would be a pretty special bowl because, as you can tell, they're all very closely together, and any misstep could mean that 2 turns into 2 for Australia, perhaps.
This will be the completion of the 16th end. Of course, Nathan Rice has played all of his bowls.
It's the 15th end.
Oh, it's a 15th of 18. Sorry, it's not that. Yep, that's correct. So, Gary Lawson.
Still plenty of time left in this match. And he's just decided to leave it short, just take the 2. And I think that's the smart way. Didn't want to get involved in there and possibly knock an Australian one closer and give up the 2. So after 15 of 18 ends, 3 ends remain, and it's New Zealand back on top, 18-16. The combination of Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy over Nathan Rice and Ray Pearce. It's been an enthralling contest. New Zealand did lead by plenty.
Well, it's been a bit of a two-end game in some regard, Brendan, because on the 12th end we saw Australia score a 6, and then on the 14th end we saw Australia score a 4. So they've scored 10 shots in 2 ends, 10 of their 16. So I think it's safety time now. Would we say that? Would not.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thought it might have been safety time a few ends ago when they were leading 14-6, Kevin. But
yes. Well, so Shannon McElroy played his first bowl, the blue and white stripe bowl, down on that forehand side, just under the head. And I can assure you, in this pairs game, you have to get them close because you've seen already, Nathan Rice, when Australia scored the 4, they were only 1 down, and New Zealand only 1 down. Nathan Rice played a superb bowl to dislodge the bowl to score 4, the Gary Lawson bowl. So Shannon McElroy now will try and get right on top of the jack as Ray Pearce's first bowl goes behind, as we now play the 16th of the 18-end game, this final. New Zealand just got their noses in front by 18-16.
Well, Joe Edwards has just become a 5-time Asia-Pacific gold medalist. And Gary Lawson trying to match her. He's a 4-time gold medalist right now. Of course, back in the New Zealand team for the first time in a decade since the Asia-Pacific Championships.
And we watched Ray Pearce bowl, draws right to the jack. That's the shot. Sits just alongside the jack. So Shannon McElroy from the Stoke Club in Nelson, trying to get down to that bowl of Ray Pearce's. But if he's over the head, Gary Lawson won't actually mind, because it will enable Gary Lawson, just the 1 down, enable Gary Lawson to be able to play with some searching weight to the yellow Australian shot bowl. Ray Pearce plays his last bowl on this, the 16th, and a really great draw bowl here as that breaks down towards the head, got a touch on the jack, covers the jack up, makes it very hard to get to. That's 2 to Australia, with 1 sitting right on top of the jack. New Zealand would be extremely disappointed at this point in time to have dropped that 6 and a 4. Just uncharacteristic, really, actually. And to drop that 6 when they were in that commanding position. So here's Lawson now, 2 down on the head, on the backhand, searching up to the Ray Pearce bowls. So breaking towards their head now. And sits on top of the jack.
And the Kiwi crowd in attendance appreciating that, and the neutrals as well. What a bowl by Gary Lawson, turning down 2 into up 1.
Magnificent shot from.
What can Nathan Rice do in response?
He loves these situations, does this guy. I can assure you of this. He loves them as he gets to that jack.
Look at that. What an exhibition from these two. And now it's Australia holding shot.
Yeah, he's a true playing weighted shots and playing to the ditch. Nathan Rice, without any shadow of doubt, is one of the best players going around. Just plays that reaching weight, plays it so well.
Yeah, bronze medalists in this event, Nathan Rice and Ray Pearce from the last Asia Pacific Championships 4 years ago, as were the New Zealand combination, and Shannon McElroy was one of them. He played with Mike Kernahan in 2015, that in Christchurch. Canada, the defending champs, but the Australians convincingly beat Ryan Bester and his pairing in their semi-final. New Zealand getting the better of Malaysia.
So here's now Gary Lawson changing his hand to the forehand, and I don't think he's out wide enough to get that result to the reaching bowls. Going to run under the head, and Nathan Rice plays those shots so well, and they're exceptionally hard to play, those weighted shots. Just the one though is the 16th of 18, and New Zealand leading 18-16, 18-16 for a grandstand finish here. So Nathan Rice changing his hand on the backhand. Nathan Rice from the Helensvale Club breaks down towards the head now. Looks as though it's where he wants to be, I suppose, near the back. Of course, our angles are, as Brent had said before, a wee bit different now because they had to move the cameras around.
Yeah, our cameras are shooting from the rink a couple of ways, so that's why everything's a bit out of whack as you're looking at it, but we'll do our best to call it for you and to let you know what the situation is. I'm very lucky to be able to bring you this coverage on stuff.co.nz, and the marker indicating still 1-2 Australia.
New Zealand leading 18-16 as we come to the end of the 16th end. And Nathan Rice will be trying to make two of it. It looks pretty tight up there. And two more ends to go in 17 and 18. And New Zealand's pursuit of 3 golds for the day. Here's Nathan Rice on the backhand with the yellow Australian bowls, playing up towards the Broad Beach end, and that's
going to be the one. So it wasn't able to bring that back, and I think almost part of him didn't want to get in the area in case he gave up that shot. So Titans again, 18-17. Lawson and McElroy over Rice and Pearce of Australia, and just 2 ends remain. What's the chance this is all tied up going into a final end, Kevin Icklin?
Yeah, could well be. I'd love to see New Zealand pick up one of those larger numbers that Australia have had 2 of them throughout this game. But so Jack's been delivered by Ray Pearce, and it's down towards the 2-metre mark. And here's Pearce quickly into his work, playing on that backhand side, and we'll play the singles for Australia, of course, next week in the second phase of the Asia Pacific. Breaks down towards the head, and this is a good opening bowl, a toucher. Certainly, there's not much room for error, is there, Brenton, with these guys? It's all very close stuff.
Yeah, great start from Ray Pearce, and these are the 2 of the better leads you're going to get in world bowls as well. And so we should be treated to a bit of an exhibition over these last 2 ends. They'll be peppering the jack.
Shannon McElroy just dropping under the the shot bowl of Ray Pearce. Of course, as Brenton and I have said numerous times throughout the coverage of both days, if you can get head in line with that jack, it certainly creates a challenge for the opposition from bowl 1 all the way through. So here's now Shannon McElroy, New Zealand player, of course, current world singles and world champion singles player, playing down towards us here in the commentary position towards the Surfers Paradise end. Just going to slip past and go narrow. And as you say, are we going to be all locked up playing that last end, Brendan, are we?
Well, it's a possibility, that's for sure, especially after the way Ray Pearce has started this end for Australia.
So, third bowl, just going to fade underneath the head, and Lawson saying to Shannon McElroy, try and get me in around behind that, what is the shot bowl. In other words, a wee bit of width on your bowl, because both of his two bowls to date have been slightly narrow, which he'd have been disappointed with. And Gary Lawson's looking closely at this bowl of McElroy's as it breaks towards the head, towards the jack, towards the jack, towards the jack, and sits on the jack.
It just flopped out. Is it still the shot? Is it the shot, or is it still that Ray Pearce's first bowl, which is the shot? It is still Ray Pearce, so just that turn of the bowl favouring Australia.
What a bowl.
Great effort from Shannon McElroy.
Just fell out at the finish, caressed the jack, then just fell out, and both bowls locked and on the jack, as Nathan Rice will play his first bowl on this, the 17th of the 18 ends, playing down towards us here at the Surfers Paradise end, playing down on his forehand, trying to get into this port between the bowls, just going to sit on the McElroy bowl and move one of Shannon McElroy's bowls closer. And
Ray Pearce still says holding one.
So can Gary Lawson jar that yellow bowl out of the head? Can he jar it out without touching the jack? Real hard shot for sure. It's on its way. The orangey bowl of Lawson's breaking down towards the head. Has the weight to disturb, and he won't be too worried about that bowl, although he didn't get the target because it's gone behind the head. So, of course, if the jack does move back there, Brendan, we have got a bowl back there. And unfortunately, it's a matter of whether we can dislodge that yellow bowl.
Yeah, certainly all Nathan Rice does have to play for a bit more cover. So if the bowl is moved back, that it's in favour of the Australians.
Of course, Gary Lawson doesn't want the, if he gets hold of it, he doesn't want the jack to jar out to that right-hand side, because there's two yellow bowls sitting out there. It's very difficult. If he jars onto the jack's a chance of just spilling out there onto that right-hand, the seaward side of the rink here, where the two yellow bowls are. One down. Well, the other option is to play on the forehand, and sure, he might jar one of his own bowls out, but he can, at least he's got two bowls sitting there, and that could make all the difference.
Yeah, while Ray Pearce and Nathan Rice have just been looking over things. We just had a meeting between Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy, working out exactly what they will do. And now Lawson back on the mat with his second bowl of this, the penultimate end. This the men's pairs final. Some bonus coverage for you on stuff.co.nz.
And as we thought, he's changed his hand, trying to get down to the bowl to get a jar onto the bowl and turn the bowl in. Oh, it was the weight. He just gets a jar on it.
And wasn't far away. You could see what he was trying to do.
Has to be so careful with that weight in case it does spill out to that side where the two yellow bowls are. Very difficult shot. Lawson certainly gave it a fantastic attempt, that's for sure. 18-17 to New Zealand as we play the 17th of 18 ends.
We'll get another go, will Gary Lawson, as now Nathan Rice with his last bowl will shortly come into picture.
And we've got a full house in here at Broadbeach for sure. Everybody's here.
And again, just another bowl as cover coming through, so staying clear of the jack. But just being in the area, if the jack does spurt out somewhere, they'll have Aussie bowls in the area.
So, we'll know in a few seconds.
Lawson now making his way back to the mat. So he's had a chance to look at the head and visualise what he wants to do. He's got the picture in his mind.
It might be one of those situations where it might be safer if you miss.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does come up with here. He wasn't far off last time around.
Certainly playing on the right side of the green to get the result, that's for sure. So it's on its way. The Gary Lawson third bowl on this, the 17th of 18 ends. It's breaking down towards the head. Looks as though it's going to run just narrow under the head, and we're all locked up.
So
we're all locked up.
Final end shootout between these two well-credentialed men's pairs, Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy of New Zealand, Nathan Rice and Ray Pearce of Australia. It's 18 apiece as we get ready to play the 18th and final end.
So the Australian side having a chat with Steve Glasson, the long-time Australian coach, of course former Australia player, and trying to decide what length that they're going to play, I would imagine. And this is very interesting. They're bringing the mat right up.
I think they were just joking for a bit because they've brought it way back. I think I don't know who Ray Pearce was trying to kid. I think he was just having a bit of a laugh with maybe Nathan Rice and Coach Steve Glasson. And he's still having a bit of a joke, a bit of a laugh to himself as Ray Pearce. That would have been a real interesting ploy to just all out of nowhere just go super short.
Well, because you know what can happen is someone gets a bowl close when the mat's up like that, and they'll try and run the jack in the ditch, as we saw, for example, in the bowls 3-5 final, and I saw it again just recently, and I saw Shannon McElroy, in fact, do it the other day in the Gary Lawson game, in one of their games. He did exactly that. So here's a good opening bowl from the Australian lead, and yes, this is what we're going to see.
As it just flops in there as well. It's not far away from the jack. Great start from Ray Pearce, putting the pressure on Shannon McElroy. How will he respond?
On the backhand is Shannon McElroy. We're all locked up. All at 18 all, playing the last end. Gary Lawson watching this bowler, Shannon McElroy, as it breaks towards the head and moves the jack with it and sits alongside it. This is punch for punch.
Windy conditions here at Broad Beach Bowls Club, and throwing our cameras around momentarily. But we're back with it here on stuff.co.nz. Brenton Vannisselroy and Kevin Hicklin with you, bringing you a bit of bonus coverage. We live streamed the women's singles final. If you're just joining us, New Zealand's Jo Edwards claiming gold in that event for the first time in her decorated career at Asia Pacific Championships. Of course, she is the two-time defending Commonwealth Games champion discipline, beating Carmen Henderson of Norfolk Island 21-6. As Shannon McElroy with another fine effort.
Draws in behind the head, and he'll be happy with that. And
maybe holding two, certainly one.
Certainly giving a bit of back coverage. And 18 all as we play the last end. Ray Pearce quickly into his work, waiting for the bowl to try and break. It's breaking now towards the head. Is it going to break all the way to the jack? Is it going to break all the way to the jack?
Oh, just sliding past. What an effort from Ray Pearce.
Just sailed past by mere centimetres.
And it's still one to Lawson and McElroy as Lawson paints the picture for McElroy, what he wants to see happen.
Who says bowls isn't exciting, Brendan?
Oh, not me, that's for sure.
Certainly, this is at its best this afternoon. So you watch Shannon McElroy, he'll be quite happy if he gets past the yellow bowl of Ray Pearce's. He just feathered it.
He wanted to sit inside that. That's what Lawson was asking for.
So
he got the outside instead. Didn't knock it any closer to the jack.
Just flopped on the bowl. So 18 all, 17 ends. New Zealand versus Australia, men's peers. The Australian combination of Nathan Rice and Ray Pearce up against the New Zealand combination of Shannon McElroy leading and Gary Lawson. And can it be 3 gold for New Zealand in one day? We just got up. We'll know in 6 bowls time actually whether that's the case or not. So here's now the big tall Australian, Lurch, as he's commonly known by all his mates in the Australian bowl scene. He's close as it breaks down towards the head. Ray Pearce is down on his knees. He's watching it. He got the bowl out. Got the shot bowl out.
Now 1 to Australia. Great bowl by Nathan Rice. Ray Pearce was on his hands and knees, willing that one home. Got the desired right result, knocking away the McElroy shot bowl. And now that bowl of Pearce is holding shot.
Certainly, he's a great man for playing the big bowls. There's Nathan Rice, and so too, though, is this man, Gary Lawson, the New Zealand skip.
Importantly, New Zealand will have the final bowl in this end. Could that be the difference between these two great men's pairs?
On the backhand is Lawson now as it breaks its way down towards the head. It's coming into range now. It's got to come back a bit further yet. It's got to get inside the orange bowl or around it to draw shot, and it would have to fall in. It goes past. Still
wasn't far away there. You can see exactly what he's trying to do. Just kiss off that shot bowl, draw the shot.
So go back to the mat. Nathan Rice, who's played some big bowls. He played the superb bowl for the 4 on the 14th end. Played another one after that as well. And then, of course, now on this 18th end, when the Shannon McElroy bowl was shot, played an absolute screamer to put the Shannon McElroy bowl, just roll it out of the head and leave Australia holding the shot. And here he comes again, the yellow bowl, and it's going to pull up short, I think.
Yeah, I think it's still just the 1. And of course, we can't see the jack from our camera angle anymore, but I still think it's quite some distance away from the jack. Just obstructing our camera, that's all.
Gary Lawson on the backhand, trying to get down to that shot bowl. Shannon McElroy's interested in this one. Is it still interested in it as it breaks towards the head now? Gets inside to the bowl. He's drawn it back. He's drawn a toucher.
And there's a celebration from Gary Lawson as well. A big bowl. Is that the deciding bowl? High five with Val Smith just off camera as well. And now we'll turn to the screen and a bit of a fist bump with Shannon McElroy. Now the final bowl for Nathan Rice. How does he respond? He has to draw the shot, otherwise New Zealand's won.
He will search with weight up there on the backhand, and he has got away with a bit of a dump. Ray Pearce down on his haunches looking at it, and he's got the bowl out clean.
Wow, what a bowl from Nathan Rice, and the crowd rightfully so applauding that. Well, we saw an absolute stunner from Gary Lawson, and in kind, Nathan Rice didn't hesitate on the mat, knew what he wanted to do, played with weight, knocked away the shot bowl, and now it's back on Lawson, because Australia now holding the shot, Rice and Pearce. What can Lawson do?
Certainly play the big bowls, does Nathan Rice. Here now is Gary Lawson on the mat, on the backhand. 1 down, last bowl, the final of the Asia Pacific men's peers. Locked up at 18 all. It's on its way, the Gary Lawson bowl. We'll watch Shannon McElroy. We'll watch closely. It's going to be too wide, unfortunately. It's got to get in now. It's got to turn. It has to turn inside, not outside. It has to get inside.
And he's done it!
He's done it! He's done it! Lawson has done it! What an amazing bowl from the late little man. What a superb bowl, Brett. You just don't see better than that.
Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy, gold for New Zealand in the men's pair, and it's that man, Gary Lawson, who delivers on his comeback to the New Zealand team.
Unbelievable.
He's been away for a decade, and Gary Lawson has drawn the shot on the 18th
the whole New Zealand team.
And final end, and the New Zealand men's pair wins. That is 3 golds for the Black Jacks on the day 1 of finals at the Asia Pacific Championships. What a performance. Gold in the women's 4, gold in the women's single, gold in the men's pair, and silver in the men's triple. A red letter day for the Blackjacks here at the Asia Pacific Championships.
Well, you know, the nice thing for myself, Brendan, after watching so many years of bowls and world championships and all sorts of things, to be here today to see New Zealand win 3 gold medals, to see what I think 2 of the greatest bowls that I have seen Gary Lawson play. He had to draw the shot twice. He had to draw it within centimetres. He had to come through 2 bowls to get to it. I'm sorry to those who were watching if I got excited, but that was absolutely outstanding play. Nathan Rice played 2 absolute superb bowls to rob New Zealand of the shot bowl. Not to be the little man Lawson, to go with his other titles, but this one for Lawson, after being out of the New Zealand scene for 10 years, it's special. It is special.
Absolutely is. What a tremendous performance from these 2. So McIlroy, who claimed bronze in this event with Mike Kernahan 4 years ago, now with Gary Lawson, his good mate Gary Lawson. He's been waiting for this opportunity to play with the man they call Gazza, and they've done it. They have won the men's pairs title, and what an incredible story this is. Gary Lawson, so much heartache caused 10 years ago at this very event. This is where it all happened at the Asia Pacific Championships in Malaysia. He was banned from international bowls. He took a long time away from the Blackjacks. He's wanted a recall. He's retired how many times? I don't know, half a dozen times. He's retired from international bowls, but he's back, and he's back with gold.
Brenton, I actually went to his retirement function last year in Nelson, and believe it or not, they even presented him with a retirement. They had a painting for him, and they presented it to Gary Lawson for his retirement. I've been a Gary Lawson supporter for a long time. I'm not going to worry about any of the off the field stuff at all. Without any shadow of doubt, he is one of the greatest bowlers New Zealand has ever seen. And if you ever want a player for the real big occasion, that's the man you want on your side. And by goodness, he proved it today. He only had centimetres to draw that shot. Centimetres. The pressure, immense. And we'll shortly have Gary Lawson with us.
Yeah, we'll have medal ceremonies to come as well. They're going to be in 15 minutes. So
we'll have a chat with Gary Lawson.
Time to have a chat before those happen. And so I think it would be only right that you interview Gary Lawson. Kevin, I'll happily step away.
I honestly thought when I saw that bowl going up the rank, I thought that was slightly wide. I didn't think he was actually going to get inside the Australian bowl. He just got inside it, had centimetres to get inside it, and this is a red letter day for New Zealand bowls. It's a red letter day as well for our new selectors, our new high performance program, the selectors of Philip Scoglin as convener, Peter Ballas who's here, Marlene Castle who is here. They were bold, they made some decisions, they changed the side around, and by goodness, hasn't it worked, Brendan, changing the side around?
Yeah, indeed it has. And coming here on Australia's home soil and getting 3 gold medals on one day in the first 4 disciplines, that's quite incredible. And the other one, we've seen a few member of the New Zealand men's triple, and Ali Forsyth and Mike Kernahan sitting there as well. They weren't too far away from a 4th gold, silver medal for them. But a target for these Asia Pacific Championships the Blackjacks had, and the agreement with High Performance Sport New Zealand was 2 gold medals already, with 4 disciplines still to come, 3 golds for the Blackjacks. What a performance here, and it'd be incredible if they can replicate anything like this next week. And I know we spoke about it earlier, but talking to a few members of the New Zealand team, they couldn't remember a time when there was 4 New Zealanders in action week 1 of the Asia Pacific Championships. And they not only were in 4 finals, they won 3 of them. 3 gold medals, women's 4, women's singles, and men's pairs. stunning performance by the Blackjacks here at Broadbeach Bowls Club on the Gold Coast.
Look, I'm just proud to be part of it all, Brendan, really, to be fair. And the CEO, Mark Watson, there is delighted. He's out in front of us there.
Mark Cameron.
Mark Cameron, sorry. I've done the Mark Watson thing before and got into trouble. With Mark Cameron, and they taking a photo up there of the very, very proud New Zealand side. And they can be rightly proud of their achievements in all round selectors, high performance people, and here's a yell out to Sport New Zealand in regards to funding. You've got a real winning New Zealand side here. Mr. Honourable Grant Robertson, open up the chequebook because this team's worth extra funding for sure. They were asked to do a job. They've come away with 3 golds in one day. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And those 2 bowls that Gary Lawson played, his second and his third, unbelievable. Especially after dropping a 6 and a 4. The pressure on the players is huge. Nathan Rice played absolutely magnificent bowls to get the side, to actually hold the win. But the little man, Gary Lawson, said, I'm back, I'm the best, and he is the best. And we very shortly, in a couple of minutes, going to have the pleasure of having Gary Lawson here with us. So, my good friend, Gary Lawson, is now going to come and join me. I'm just going to... Shannon McElroy. Oh, mate, I'm overjoyed. Where's Shannon? Where's Gary? I've got them both here with me. So I've got Shannon McElroy to put the headphones on. Use them with them. And I'll get Gary Lawson here with me any second. So, Shannon, you've won a lot of titles. You've won world championships. You've done it all, mate. But how does that feel?
Come down to the wire, we built a nice little lead at the start, and the Aussies showed a fair bit of character to play a couple of big bowls at the right time to get themselves back in the game. So we had to dig deep. We stayed pretty patient through that little patch where they stayed.
You might have stayed patient. I certainly didn't. I was getting quite testy actually when you dropped that 6 and a 4. Gary Lawson in here will get the microphone. Is the microphone there going? So, Shannon, I'll get you both in. I'll have a chat with Gary as well. So, that last end, I'm just going to test this other microphone. Sorry about that. And we'll test the sound on that. Oh, hello, Mr. Lawson. How are you? I'll tell you in a moment. Just sorry for this technical.
Hello.
Are we there?
Hello, how you going? Come in, New Zealand.
We'll be back within a second. Don't go anywhere. We're on www.stuff.co.nz. So we're going back now to Gary Lawson. So just give the headphones to...
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay, righto.
So Gary, all I can say, mate, is that was bloody close.
Yeah.
So talk me through. You're both here. You can both talk in the microphone. So the 6 and a 4. What happened to the 6? I saw you have a couple of drives and they missed.
They played a good in, and he wasn't actually trying to, but he sat ours out for 4, and the target was, there was a couple of balls on the right hand side of the jack, and I've been driving good on the forehand, and I thought I'll go there and just push it a bit wide, and then. As I was talking to Peter Bellis just before, the problem was on the other side there was a hole there, and sort of the last thing I wanted to do was see a couple sailing through the hole, and it might have looked a reasonable target, but I still had to hit it, and it was probably the first couple I've missed in the last couple of days, to be fair, and just picked a really bad time for it. But and probably the worst one was the 4. The following time I sort of chipped them in for another third, and then they sat Shannon out, and I'd played a reasonable one on the first, but my last one was poor. So, that was probably more of a pain than the 6, to be fair. But
I think you'd agree, Gary, Shannon, you've played against Nathan Rice enough times. When it comes to playing that push and prod shot, he's so good at it, isn't he? He puts pressure on all the way, and he can take bowls, he can move bowls around on the head, and he does that very, very well, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, like he played some really telling shots, as you say, that little couple of yards on. And, I think, he got them back into it. But to be fair, Ray Pearce, he started getting 2 or 3 handy for him, and
he did.
And Shannon hung on to him really well, and it was a credit to Shannon really for just keeping calm and hanging in there, because he'd every right to probably be a bit grumpy with me in the middle of that game, but it's all about having your turn. And it was funny because at the last 4 or 5 ends I actually felt better than the start of the game, and it just didn't actually show it. And so even going into the last end, I still felt like I could draw a shot, and that was probably the main point.
Well, I saw the fist pump a couple of times. That was good to see. Now, Shannon, tell me on that 17th end when the bowls were all locked up, was there a chance of actually score? Was there, because if the jack could have spilled out to the side as well, couldn't it? The Aussies had 2 bowls sitting out to the side. Your bowl was locked on there, and could you actually get out of that one down?
Yeah, that was the one where 2 behind it. Nathan chipped my third one across behind the jack. The only problem was if the jack had gone more than probably 6 feet, we could have dropped 2 or 3. So
the weight had to be pretty crucial, didn't it?
Gaz's weight that he used the last 2 were actually pretty good. Like if he was to bowl wider, there was a possibility that he could have got the jack itself. And he could have got the result that we were looking for anyway on that hand as well. So, it's a pretty intense finish, isn't it?
So, Gary, mate, we're not going to talk about all those years. Not interested in that, but I know you're so proud to be back in the wearing that shirt, wearing the New Zealand, wearing the silver fern. And how's it feel, mate, to clinch a big one?
Oh, that's awesome. But really seriously, I've got to take my hat off to the team. Like the whole group's been fantastic all week, and they made me feel really welcome. And the management's team's been good, the coaches, but the players have been really awesome, and we've really stuck together. And and I know it's a we've had a formula and we've stuck to it, and Shan's been awesome. It's off the green as well. We've been sort of getting ourselves really well prepared to play, and we were a bit rusty early, but it's all about we spend a lot of time with Quinny back home, and just getting things right off the green so we can do it right. And then when things are going poor on the green, it's about trying to understand what our systems are to come right and to fix it up. And I think we're getting better at that. And look, we've got a lot of work to do. I mean, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. I mean, I've had too many ends there where I just can't afford to play like that in a big game. And so, but that's good to come back and to get a win's fantastic. But it's about trying to grow from here and just get I'm not quite ready to yet, but I'm getting there.
So Shannon, the other thing about that, you were in the Commonwealth Games here in Broadbeach, and we're not going to talk about the performance, but this certainly has stepped us a long way forward from where we were in 2018. We're now, I think we're back on the dais in a big way.
Absolutely. I mean the beauty about Gary and Cooney and Jamie coming back in the team is there's no substitute for experience.
No.
And what they bring to the table, I'm the new boy on the block in this group. I mean, I've been here 12 years, haven't been out, and I'm the newest, really, in regards to the year I started playing for New Zealand. So, it's for someone like me, it's absolutely perfect to have these guys around, because now I can start picking their brains, and me and Gaz every night, we're talking about bowls and stuff, and etc., and how we're gonna play and stuff. So, for me, as a youngest in the team, it's pretty awesome to have these guys back in the group.
Well, Gary, just to close off, mate, I think the win by the New Zealand women's 4-seed team as well, the women's side, that was pretty special actually, because they fought all the way to get to that final, and they were convincing really in the final. And Val Smith and a couple of players on the comeback, and Caitlin Lynch, that's a very good performance from them, I think.
Oh, they would have gone into this game this morning big underdogs. The Malaysians had cleaned up the Aussies easily, and our girls, they fought like tigers yesterday to win on extra end. And we watched a lot of that game this morning, and Wendy gave them a great start off the front.
Certainly did.
Someone who hasn't been in the team for a long time, but all 4 of them played really well. I mean, I was really impressed with Caitlin yesterday. But as a unit, they played fantastic. But the good thing about them is that they're probably a little bit like the rest of us. Every day they've got better.
Well,
they've just trusted each other.
Well, it's the first time they've played together. Yeah. And it was Joe Edwards winning the singles. Just caps off for Joe. I think that top spot and had any shadow doubt number one in the women's singles.
Well, what she does is, like, even when she's battling, she knows how to find a way to win, and you know, that's what we all need to do. And I think we've done that a lot in this tournament. You know, when we've been under the pump and we're struggling, we've found a way to win, and she's an expert at it. You know, and she's been good at it for a long time.
And the men's triples, a bit unlucky, really, weren't they? They hung in there. Got back into the game, and you know.
Oh, look, they were outplayed, but the beauty about them is that they just hung in there, and they were only a bowl away. Aaron Sheriff played a bomb.
Certainly
Otherwise,
did.
they won behind with 2 to play, and it was an absolute credit to them the way they hung in there. And you know, they played a very good Australian side, but you know, our guys, you know, they can take a lot of heart from the fact that, you know, they weren't far off them, and the way they fought was brilliant, but it showed the character of the team, and I think that's what we are trying to create, you know, a little bit of good attitude and just that never say die, you know, formula.
And that good pride of playing for New Zealand, and look, just 3 gold medals, and you know, just unbelievable. 3 gold medals. We had in the World Bowls, of course, in 2008. We had the couple, but to me, I feel very proud today to have been part of this, being part of the build-up for this whole event and for this whole New Zealand squad setup. And, you know, I'm very, very proud of what the team's achieved on week 1, and now we just look forward to going forward.
Oh, you did right. You know, thanks, Kev. You know, honestly, yeah, big day, but, you know, we've got another week to go, so she's... you know, we'll enjoy today, but, you know, we'll rest up tomorrow and get back into it on Monday. Looking forward to it.
Well, congratulations, mate, and Shannon, absolutely fantastic, and great ambassadors. Great to have you with us, and good luck for the coming week.
Brilliant.
So that brings us... So I've got Brenton Van Nistelrooy now coming back with me, and we'll have a recap. We'll do a recap of the day, and it's certainly been a day to remember. With the women's fours side starting off with their win this morning against Malaysia, the narrow loss for our men's triple side against Australia, the resounding win of Joe Edwards over Carmen Henderson in the women's singles, and the absolute nail-biter pairs final with Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy up against Nathan Rice and Ray Pearce. And those last 2 bowls that Gary Lawson played, Brenton, well, what can you say?
Oh, absolutely of the highest calibre for someone like me who hasn't seen Gary Lawson play live that many times. You know, I mostly heard stories about Gary Lawson, given that he hadn't played for New Zealand for a decade. To see that, you know, this is what the likes of yourself and other bowls personalities have been talking about, what he's able to deliver in the crunch. To see it live was an absolute privilege, and he celebrated like someone who's been wanting to come back into that New Zealand team to show what he's capable of for quite some time. Absolutely outstanding, and it just caps what is absolute red letter day for the Blackjacks. There's no doubt about that. It started with the New Zealand women's 4 this morning, claiming gold against Malaysia, and then Joe Edwards with an absolutely stunning performance, one-sided performance against Carmen Henderson of Norfolk Island in the women's singles, and then capped off by Gary Lawson and Shannon McElroy winning the men's pairs against Australia on their home green as well, and that will be incredibly satisfying. And it's just halfway through this Asia Pacific Championship, so we've got plenty still to come for you here on stuff.co.nz. So next week, starting Monday, we have a day off tomorrow. Starting Monday, we have section play in the men's singles and men's fours, and in the women's pairs and women's triples. So we look forward to that. 3 days of section play. Then come Thursday, we'll be back with you on stuff.co.nz, live streaming quarter-final action, semi-final action, and then all culminating on Friday with potentially 4 more finals for New Zealand. Very much looking forward to that here at the Asia Pacific Championships.
So that's it for today, and we'll be back for... Done.